Guys, welcome to episode 2 of the Press Restart podcast. I'm Ash and I'm here with Retro. Oh, I need to call you Retro Games.
No, okay.
Let it go. Retro Room. We'll carry on.
Okay. Yeah, no worries. That's no problem.
Okay, guys. That's what happens when I start the intro, see.
It's more fun.
With the Retro Room. There's a lot of retros, okay? Bear with me.
That's true.
My fault.
No, that's true. I didn't notice that until... I didn't notice how many retros there were until... just this year, I think, so. No worries.
So many that I see on Twitter. It's just... There's tons and tons of them. Usually get your name right, as you know, but I don't know what happened there.
No worries. No worries at all.
We're ready. Okay. Jump right into first topic. What have you been playing?
What have I been playing this week? Oh, sheesh. I've kind of been jumping around a little bit more, but I honestly think the game that I've been spending the most attention, or giving the most attention to, most time on, has been revisiting the Lord of the Rings Shadow of Mordor and Lord of the Rings Shadow of War games that WB did.
Okay.
So they were, for anybody who hasn't played them, they were great, or at least I think they were pretty good. They were kind of built the same way as the Batman Arkham games, where you have the stealth mechanics and the free flow combat, and there's just a lot of it's open world. So I just kind of started revisiting those, and I'm loving it. And then on top of all of the controls and it being easy to kind of get a hold of, they added this really cool kind of bad guy hierarchy system, where if you kill a general, you might have them squabbling for that rank, or if you kill a captain, rather, you might have other two lesser orcs squabbling for that rank, and you'll get to see how they are changing their army up each time as well. It's really, really cool.
So you've fan of those games, but you've never seen the films, have you?
No, haven't seen a single
film. Crazy.
I
enjoyed the first one. Was it Shadow of Mordor? Was that the first one?
Oh,
what are they called?
I'm not sure. I know that I know one is Return of the King, and one is the Two Towers, and Fellowship of the Ring, was that the other one?
I'm completely... Wait, we on about the films or the games? I'm on about the games.
I'm sorry, you're right. It is the games. Yes, Shadow of Mordor. Yes.
So the Shadow of Mordor and then Shadow of War, isn't there?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I've played the first one and I really enjoyed it. I never got around to finishing it though. But I never played the second one. Is it as good? Or lacking in any way?
It feels like they kind of kept. To me, it feels like they kind of kept the same momentum. Like that they. There were some things that were like little tweaks that they improved on. Honestly, it feels pretty much the same, but there's different story and different stakes in that way. It's really good though.
I'll have to play that again.
I had them for PlayStation, and since our PlayStation 4 Pro had become defunct, so to speak, Anna got them for me for the Xbox. They were on sale for like $5 a piece, so she grabbed them up, and I started playing them again, and oh man, they're so much fun.
What's the system in that game where they remember you?
Oh yeah,
the Nemesis system.
Yes, yeah, and it's really, really cool. I didn't even really pay attention to that the first time around. I should have, but it's absolutely that. It's so the if you get killed, I'm not spoiling the story. It's revealed very early on that you are essentially banished from death, and so you can be killed by a captain or even a lesser orc, and then if you are killed and you come back and you face that orc, every time you come up against them, they'll kind of clash with you for a moment, just kind of give them this cinematic moment, and they will say something to the effect of, I have to kill you again, or my troop doesn't respect me because of the scars you gave me, or like, it's all completely random. It's so cool.
I remember when I first played that and I saw that system, and I'm shocked it hasn't been in more games.
It's such a cool system.
I thought it would be in that. Have you ever played Mad Max, the Mad Max game?
I have.
for some, it's because that's Warner Brothers too, isn't it? I thought they was going to start using that for like all their games and like the Batman games, and that's a really cool thing that I feel like no other developers have kind of stolen. Really surprised that no one's took that. It was like, I felt like it was kind of new and unique, which is rare nowadays. Like a new mechanic or something.
So, I guess I maybe because now that you've said that, I never thought of it, but I feel like that I would absolutely love to play it if it were like if they did that in one of the new Batman games. That would be so cool.
Yeah. I was shocked they never used it, considering it was Warner Brothers too.
Yeah,
like in all properties.
I think that would have been so cool. But so what I mean, that's kind of where I've been stuck for just now. What about yourself? Where have you been? What have you been playing?
I've been jumping between some of the Souls games.
Okay.
Mainly Bloodborne and Sekiro. But I think the problem I'm having is I'm playing them at the same time. Like even worse at them. That's my issue too. Like unless I'm reviewing something, I don't really have trouble focusing on one game. I just jump between so many. Really like the Souls games, but the issue I have, well, it's a me issue really. I get really excited about playing them. The game on, I've only got to die like one too many times, and I'll quit and delete it, and then I'll download it again in like 25 minutes. It's a really weird like process with those games. It's so strange. I love Bloodborne. I've never finished any of them, by the way. So.
Oh, okay. I mean, those are
amazing.
Those will break your soul though. Those are so difficult.
It just changes. It's like I've got like multiple personalities when I play those games, because one minute I'm like excited and then as soon as I die I'm just a different person and the game's gone, and then I'm playing something else 5 minutes later. Want a new heard rumours of a remaster of Bloodborne, like 60 frames and stuff. I think that would be great, because the issue I have with that game is the frame rate's just terrible. Still, it's just so bad.
Yeah.
It looks so good on like PS5 running like over. But that's true.
I've yet to get to see it to run on a PS5, sadly.
Yeah, okay. I forgot about that.
It's always
the touchy subject.
Yes, it's always the thing where it looks so good on a PS5. You should play this, and meanwhile I'm sitting here looking for restocks constantly, and you're just, like you tuck yours in at night, and it's.
I want to remaster. Like I'm not even saying it's good on the PS5 right now. I want a better version of it.
Maybe
I've been playing that in Sekiro.
Oh, okay, all right.
I think Sekiro is the first Souls game. I want everyone else thinks. Game is insane.
Did you
stuck on almost every enemy?
It's that on, at least on my end. It may not have for them, but it kind of cut out for just a second when you said Souls game. You said you thought Sekiro was the what?
Toughest one, like the hardest Souls game.
Ah, okay.
Can't play like very well.
I if I can plug for just a second here, I beg to differ, because you were doing a lot better than I would. This particular recording comes fairly freshly on the heels of your publishing the snippets of your Sekiro gameplay, which I found both impressive and hilarious. So.
Not a bit impressive. I think I've lost count of how many times I died within that 2-minute video.
Oh,
it's interesting.
I mean, I don't want to go off topic in that case, but I think that those games like that, and like dying is just that's accepted. That's gonna happen, and so the fact that you were making progress was better than me. I died at the title screen. I selected options when I was supposed to select new game. Killed me. So, really quickly, which of all of the Souls style games, which one would you say is your favorite? Just to jump into.
I'm a big fan of that gothic kind of horror setting.
Okay.
The environments, like that's a big. I've got a soft spot for stuff like that. That definitely is up there. I do like Sekiro a lot, but Bloodborne just is a little bit more because of that setting. It reminds me of Castlevania too. I'd love to see their version of a Castlevania.
Oh, that would be so cool. I would love a Castlevania Soul style game. That would be I guess you could technically say Lords of Shadow, but I don't think the difficulty was intense enough to really. And it's
I feel
not
like Lords of Shadow was kind of reminding me of the older God of War games.
Yes, yeah, that's exactly
Same
what
kind of thing, wasn't it? They're fun, but they reminded me of that style.
No, I think that's exactly where I would go with that. Yeah, I mean, kudos. Don't get me wrong. I've enjoyed the Souls games and I've played them, and I don't think I've passed any of them really either. But I think the one I had played the most was 3, and I just can't. Like, I'm not gifted in that way. I love playing video games, and I've played a lot of video games, but the difference is I play a lot of video games poorly, and a lot of people. I should be focusing on playing a few video games well.
I do like Dark Souls 3, but there's a section that's like a swamp.
Mm-hmm.
Something. I can't stand it, and I always turn the game off when I get there. That's kind of my ending of Dark Souls 3, that portion of the game. It's just so sluggish and like tedious.
It's just game over right there.
Besides that, it is a good game. It's the pace too, like the Souls 1 and 2.
Yeah.
They're fun.
The thing that I have for whatever reason I started on Demon Souls. I don't know why I have a copy that is from China, a Chinese copy of Demon Souls, and I played it, and someone says, "Oh, change your clock on your PS3 to Halloween," and I was like, "Oh, cool!" And I did that, and I couldn't get past the first screen of where you're climbing up the stairs that go around the side to the castle wall. I couldn't get past the first like 5 enemies on there, and then later on I found out, if you turn it to Halloween, then the difficulty also spikes up. The drops are better, but the enemies are 10 times harder. I was like, oh well.
No idea about that.
Yeah, apparently. I mean, unless I'm just that bad. Apparently if you turn it to Halloween, the drops are so much better, but the enemies are substantially more difficult. So I was like,
Easy.
But leave it to them to make a fun day, a grueling path or trek through the enemies. I'm sitting there trying to like give out candy, and they're sitting there like trying to take pieces of my sanity.
Well, I've been playing really though the Dark Souls. No, not even Dark Souls. The Souls Star game.
Mm-hmm.
Forward to Elden Ring. February.
Which I don't have a lot of I don't have any real experience or mess around all that. I haven't gotten to mess around with Elden Ring really.
So it's not just Souls in an open world kind of is. That's what it looks like.
Oh,
so
okay.
Dark Souls 4 open world setting.
Gotcha. Okay, that sounds like a really cool
fun.
Concept.
It's out February, I think.
It's
like about 5 of a game.
Okay, so it's not. I mean, I've seen the adverts, but I didn't know that it was whether it was or wasn't out. I guess so. Okay, so it's not even out until February. Okay, I'd definitely give it a shot. Which, if you don't mind, to move over to just upcoming stuff. I think that it's worth bragging, if I can say that, on just the insane level of detail when it comes to you keeping up on top of game news. Because can I spoil the just the smallest amount of the behind the scenes?
Yeah, no problem.
So when we're trying to do these episodes, what has unintentionally happened, is that I've kind of taken I try to do the tech stuff and the editing stuff, and he came in with the which in my opinion he came in with the hard part, which was having the bullet points and the cool stuff that we would talk about, and he sends me the kind of layout, and I look at it and it's like, oh my gosh, like just so much detail and so much information and things that I had to look at, in some of it of which I had no idea. I was like, I have to look into this, and had to do some reading to buff up on it. And he's just like, no, I got this, it's all good. It's just
So
insane.
I was like, I just want a couple words, please. I don't need all this shit.
No, this is perfect. Like, just so many good. Like, it was great. But anyway, just how I mean, we said Elden Ring, which of course is coming out, but there's just so many different topics that I was not even aware of that before we did this. I had to go brush up on a little bit. Just you're straight on the ball when it comes to this. You were making mention of a little bit of some of the stuff that was. I think people know about that have Xbox, like Halo Infinite, and then you have other topics on here, which of course we'll get into. But just the stuff that I was like, I didn't realize that this was even in talks, or I didn't realize this was even a thing that had been talked about.
You go. Sorted.
So did you get to? So I guess I'm since I mentioned Halo, did you get to play? Have you? You're I know not. You don't have a Series S or Series X just yet. But I know you're in the market for one. Do you have any kind of Xbox One Series? Xbox One, Xbox One X, any of that?
Currently, no. Been looking into getting the Series S.
Okay.
Those are everywhere, and it's like such a simple little console that's like a good price. So I might get one of those soon.
Oh yeah.
Can't find the X's anywhere. Like, aren't ridiculously overpriced.
Yeah.
PS5 right now.
Yeah.
So, I get a Series S because I've been seeing some of the gameplay for Halo. Now the multiplayer was released early in like to form. It's been like a week or two now. I think we're a bit behind on that, but sure launch comes out December 8th, and that's the campaign too. I haven't had a chance to play it. It looks fun, like in terms of the gameplay, it looks great. But I've heard there's a lot of sleazy is going on with the progression and XP and stuff like that.
Yeah, it seems so. I mean, I've gotten to, so it's we're opposite sides of the same coin. I don't have a PS5, but I do have a Series X. And I've gotten to mess. I mean, myself and some of the guys around here, where I am, just old friends, have been big Halo fans since Halo first launched. I think we got Halo. We didn't get Halo 1 day one, but we've gotten every subsequent launch day one. And so we wanted to try it when we heard it was early launch, and it's really cool. And the way the game is made, the way the game looks in terms of just graphically, how it plays, all of that kind of stuff, even in beta form, was pretty great. It plays well, but it looks really cool. And other people that are experts in just Halo, like channels like Mint Blitz, are just raving about the gameplay. And of course, I think he's gotten an early copy or an early preview of the campaign. But
there are a lot of previews out right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think they're trying to raise hype after in my opinion, the tragedy that was 5. It just, but yeah, it's very, to me, it feels very EA in its microtransaction and the way that they've done it in the progression. And I can't remember exactly what it was, which they started kind of doing this in 5. Is in order to unlock certain types of armors and such, you have to have the in-game currency, and the in-game currency can directly be traded for out-of-game currency. You can fight and participate in certain arenas and make up some of the game currency, but of course it's never going to be as quickly as if you're doing the if you're paying money for it. And then of course there's unless you pay for it with cash, I think there's always a chance of a duplicate item. If you pay for it with cash, because of the whole Battlefront 2 debacle, you're guaranteed
launch.
Right, you're guaranteed to get something different, so that you're not technically gambling. You're guaranteed to get what you're paying for directly. But if you just unlock at random, I mean, I guess you can also. It looked like you could use the currency directly the currency you gain from playing the game as well. But I don't know. It just feels. It did feel, and yet again, I have to go give it a much more fair evaluation. But it did feel like that there were several nickel and dime style microtransactions, which I'm just not a fan of.
But yeah. Issue I've got with Halo, and I haven't played it, so as far as the gameplay, it looks amazing. I've watched a bunch of people stream it and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They're selling XP boosters. I mean, they might have changed it by now, so as far as I'm aware, they were selling XP booster packs for XP. Their progression system and leveling up was so slow. It's sleazy to me because that's clearly intentional. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They've clearly made it slow so it would tempt people into buying these packs, and I think that's just so shitty.
Yeah.
I can't stand stuff like that. Like, they made that slow leveling system on purpose. They put these booster packs in the store to tempt you in. I can't stand stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like because it's free too. I feel like they try and get away with more, laziness. Like you said, like the EA style. It literally is.
Well, and it follows it followed the Battlefront 2 formula to a T almost, because I don't know if you remember how involved you were with Battlefront when it first came out, but or Battlefront 2 rather, and I'm talking about the 2018 Battlefront, but the story was okay, and you had some you had some characters you could play as already, and the story wasn't really hobbled if you weren't didn't have a max level. But when you went to the multiplayer, you have characters obviously that you can play as, and some of those characters were just ridiculously expensive compared to how quickly you would gain the points for them. Darth Vader was I think Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker were the most, because those were the most desirable. Those were, I think, 100,000 a piece. And then when you did and they got into hot water, and I'm sure you're probably familiar with it, but they got into there was some sort of legal thing that was going on, because you could purchase the in-game currency and you could use it towards the in-game things, but you could hypothetically get duplicates of things you already had, which would serve no purpose. And so because you could technically get duplicates and they would serve no purpose, that would amount to you losing, not to you getting something that had any value. And so people kind of contested with EA that was considered gambling, and that there was no you can't do that in a game. They don't have a gambling license or whatever all needs to go into what you need to do in order to be able to gamble. And so there was this huge legal case with them, because you hypothetically it was encouraging you to spend your money because it was so ridiculously slow, the level up system, and the payout was so pithy. And then you could, like I said, you could hypothetically use whatever you had purchased, whether that be using your real money or the in-game currency. You could hypothetically do that and get something that you couldn't really use because it was a duplicate of an item. So hypothetically you could lose. So it was just a mess. And of course EA actually begged people and tried to appeal to people to let them do that and get away with it. But I think the people weren't happy with it, and I think they ended up lowering they stopped the ability for duplicates, and I think they substantially lowered. I think Vader ended up going for like 30,000 or 40,000, and Luke, they had to drop it pretty substantially.
Remember, they turned that game around pretty all the way, really.
Oh yeah.
Removed a lot of things too, and excuses. Obviously, it was terrible when it came out. That is one of the worst cases I've seen, was Battlefront 2, for just all that sleazy stuff. Terrible.
Yeah, I mean, and you're right. They did turn it around. To give full credit, I've just sat here and ragged on them for a bit, but yeah, I mean, you're right. They did at least turn it around. I know it was peer or pressure of the consumer, but they did turn it around.
Yeah, it definitely was. They wouldn't have changed it if people hadn't have complained about it.
No. But they did turn it around, and I mean, I don't want to discourage anybody from getting if you're looking for a good shooter and a fun online game to play now, with all of the patches they've put in and the changes they've made, it's well worth it. But when it first launched,
really
it absolutely was not. So, but yeah, so I don't want Halo to go in that same direction. That's one of my concerns. I would rather not.
Apparently they're already trying to tweak things. Apparently this week or last week, I might have just missed that. Already working on things, but see what that means, and if it's substantial changes or if it's just tweaks that really don't mean anything.
Okay. You're saying that they've just kind of generally said tweaks. It's not specific to microtransactions. You're just.
I think it's mainly for the XP that people are having issue with Halo, and now when you play a match, they don't give you any XP or anything. You've heard, just for playing a standard match. Like, you need to do these challenges.
Gotcha.
Very specific, and some of them are like specific modes, and some people are like, what if I don't want to play that mode? So they just don't get to have any XP for playing the game.
Oh geez, yeah, that sounds.
It's kind of strange. Yeah.
This isn't. I don't know if this should be saved for another topic, so I won't go into detail on it. But I just want to brush on it. Like, me personally, I feel like multiplayer is a bonus in a game. I feel like the meat and potato. I feel like that your rating on a game should be based on the experience you can have with the game alone. And then I feel like that because if you have to rate it off of just multiplayer, you can have a bad match and have other people come in and say, hey, this is what's going on, this is what's going on. Have other people come in and say, hey, kind of this is what's going on in my life, and I'm going to push that onto you, and they're crying and making your life miserable, and then you're like, oh, I didn't have fun with this particular match because this person was yelling profanities at me the entire time, and and so anyway, I appreciate multiplayer and I think it's a great bonus, but honestly, I usually will rate the game on the meat and potatoes, which I feel like is the story. If I liked it without having any other mitigating factors, then that's great. And if I didn't like that, there wasn't really anything outside of it to influence it versus just my playing it and genuinely not enjoying it. So
I feel like I'm kind of losing interest in multiplayer the older I get.
Okay. Why is that?
No, I don't seem to ever enjoy myself playing. Mainly when I say multiplayer, I go right towards shooters.
Okay.
Really. I love shooters, especially campaigns like Doom and stuff. I do play Apex Legends with a friend. Even that's starting to just get tiring. It's just, I feel like it's the same thing. Isn't obviously every multiplayer game, I play fighting games online and stuff, so maybe I sound like a bit of a hypocrite. I'm tired of I just prefer single player, and I feel like the older I get too, I'm preferring shorter games than these giant 100-hour open world games. Tastes are just changing.
So I mean, does the feeling for you change between co-op and versus? So for example, when the Halo Infinite single player, or not single player, the campaign comes out, would you feel differently about playing that alongside someone as a cooperative effort versus playing versus a whole bunch of randos?
It's mainly just multiplayer. I don't have as much of an issue with co-op.
Okay.
It'd be interesting to see, but I haven't played a game like that. I think the last co-op game truly played was It Takes Two, which I played with my girlfriend. Have you played that, by the way?
Yes, yeah. We my wife and I played it on your recommendation. We were going to play it on the channel, and we thought, let's kind of put our toe in the waters and test it and just make sure, because we don't want to try it and then just be like, and we ended up liking it so much that in our little test we played about 4 hours straight. And we were like, well, we can't record now because everyone's going to be starting in the middle of the game. So, but that game was so good.
Things like that I enjoy, and it's just the standard basic multiplayer. I'm just starting to lose interest. There's still some I try. I haven't completely not playing it altogether, but I feel like the older I get, the just less I care about it, and I'm just more interested in single player stuff.
Sure. I agree with you on that. Multiplayer for me is for me, cooperative multiplayer, or when I say multiplayer, I know I may be skewing the term. So I guess when I say multiplayer, I'm meaning anything that requires more players than myself. Cooperative multiplayer, I'm okay with. Usually, like I said, I actually quite enjoy those. Army of Two and It Takes Two and A Way Out was really good. Playing those were fun. But yeah, when it comes to multiplayer, especially when it comes to, I used to like way back in the day, LAN parties when you could hook up, a couple of consoles. That's cool. But when you're hopping online nowadays and you're just kind of jumping on with some rando and you're trying to play out the, to me, that's lost its appeal. If for me it ever really had any great appeal.
Same. I enjoy it. It's been very fast.
Yeah. So I don't want to jump around too wildly or any of that, but you have the you made a note here and it really caught my eye, and I have to ask more questions. And we also kind of brushed on Battlefront just as a model, but you wrote this thing here that said something about EA had rejected a Star Wars Battlefront 3 pitch. What happened? That almost made me bite fingernails, and that's not a thing I do.
So just based on what I found, like Retro said, EA has apparently rejected a Star Wars Battlefront 3 pitch, which is apparently due to licensing costs. This came from an insider, Tom Henderson. I have no idea who that is, but that's how I found out. He also stated that he thought a sequel would seem unlikely anyway due to several key members of Battlefront 2 leaving. And I didn't even know that happened. The creative director, I think, was one of them. The main gameplay guy. Those are the two a few of them left, but those were the two key people in Battlefront 2 that have left the company. So, no idea why. It's due to licensing costs apparently, but what they mean by that could be, excuses. And so claims that they're working on another Battlefield game. DICE is this Henderson guy. However, there are currently 2 Star Wars titles in development under EA. Those games appear to be more story driven and single player instead of multiplayer, so that's good for conversation we was just talking about. At least to us too anyway. What do you think of this? So now the second you see the word Star Wars, I'm sure you're intrigued.
Yeah, whenever I see Star Wars, it doesn't have to be in sequence. If those words are on a page, my eyes are drawn immediately there, and I'm like,
stars.
Yeah, it's like, and that's the thing. Anytime, like, I read a book of Constellation, it says star, and if it's not followed by wars, I lost interest in the whole book. No, like, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so that was a big blow. But part of me is kind of, I see it as kind of a bittersweet. So me personally, I think I would hope at least that the EA would have learned their lesson with the way that Battlefront 2 went, and I think that the way that Battlefront 2 has kind of ended, or how it is now, I think if that were indicative of, how Battlefront 3 was going to be, I would be super, super excited. The licensing cost piece kind of, it makes me question, because I thought the Star Wars license, I guess Disney and EA had at least a decent enough relationship that those licensing costs, EA had an exclusivity contract for the longest time, and granted they kind of squandered that by doing what they did with Battlefront 2, but I don't imagine that Disney probably hiked the licensing costs up that much for, a game that they have made for the past, X.
I don't think their relationship ended, but it definitely, dwindled, and to Battlefront 2, I feel like there was less interest from Disney to work with EA.
Which is fair. And what I also think that, part of it that I could think would be a little bit damaging. Yet again, I don't think Disney would hike the licensing costs up to this unrealistic, amount. But part of me thinks, okay, well, they did probably see what Respawn did with Jedi Fallen Order and expect more out of EA when the time came to sit around the table and talk about it. And we know that, so I know, and we know that Jedi Fallen Order has I want to say confirmed, but I don't know that. But at least it's been rumored heavily, and apparently people are saying that it in some sources have been confirmed that there is a sequel coming, and it should be here around holiday next year. I'm incredibly excited about that. I think that's great. It is to hear that EA has 2 additional Star Wars titles though, and they're more story driven. To me, there were 2 games. Yet again, these never came out, and if these ended up coming out in some form, I'd be excited. And I feel like if EA really wanted to get in the good graces of fans, this would be the way to go. But I was working in the gaming industry about 10 years ago, a little over 10 years ago, and they had Star Wars 1313. I don't know, do you remember that, or did you?
Yeah, I was really disappointed when that got cancelled.
Yeah, it's I was fortunate enough because since I was working in the gaming industry, I was in Las Vegas at the time, and Nevada, and they were doing the whole, like, it was a big deal. They were doing the videos and showing the concept art, and they raffled off some of the I actually have some of the concept art that they had. I won a couple of the raffles. I say one, but I think it was 2 of the raffles. So I actually have some of the concept paintings from 1313 framed over here. I was so excited about that, and it was a bounty hunter. I mean, I think they said it was probably going to be a Boba Fett, but even if it were just a bounty hunter story mode, it looked so good. I was so excited about that. And then they also had, and yet again, I don't think EA was necessarily the ones working on it, but there was a Darth Maul title in the works.
I remember that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Shit.
Darth Maul is I think that's my wife's absolute favorite character. He's absolutely one of my favorite characters. And yet again, the movies are great. He's in Solo and he's in Episode 1, and that's great. But like, I've read the books. He's this really cool, intense character, and the games were supposed to be doing that. They were supposed to be like following the awesome things that he did from outside of the movies, and you could be him, and you were just this, if I were EA and I had made a move which really kind of puts me in this, like, I'm almost made anathema to Disney. Oh my goodness. If I were made, just kind of this untouchable to Disney, my thing would be to win the fans over, so that that I was in demand again, and I would be going back and I would be making the 1313 game, and whether it's Boba Fett or whether it's just random bounty hunter that you can customize, and I would be definitely going in and looking at that Darth Maul game again. So,
reminded me of was it the Force Unleashed?
Mm-hmm.
Reminded me of those. Have you seen the gameplay for that Darth Maul game?
I want to say I saw some of the. I don't know if I saw gameplay. I want to say I saw some of the like test teaser footage.
Yeah, it was probably test stuff. Yeah, but it reminded me of those games. It seemed like the same kind of gameplay and stuff.
Oh yeah,
really good.
Yeah, no, that was cool. I remember when, because Force Unleashed was what 09 2009 2007. I don't know. I can't remember, but I remember watching the test footage for that and just like crazy, and then play that and that same feeling being replicated several years later when seeing the Darth Maul footage. It's just like, or what little I did see. I'd love that. Like, I'd love to play as Darth Maul and his own story based. What was he doing before Episode 1 up until Episode 1, and heck, now that we know, I mean, for Star Wars Star Wars fans out there kind of know that Darth Maul's a big character in it was just the books. Now it's like the Clone Wars and Rebels, and they kind of show his whole life in that. It'd be really cool to like play the parts you don't see. Like there's a lot
really
of really
popular,
awesome.
Isn't he? So I feel like he'd do really well. A game focused on him.
Sure, yeah. I mean, he's I think he's pretty big. I think people still really like him. So
I always hear that he's everyone's favorite part of, was it Episode 1?
Yes, but it's just
when he the 2.
He's just such a. I mean, like, nothing about him. He's just in the first movie. He's just.
So he's cool. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's. But that's what I think they could be. I think that it's a good move for them to go story driven versus multiplayer. I think EA puts a lot of I think they try to, or they at least they do now, or they have recently just tried to put too many eggs in one basket with the whole multiplayer trend, and I think that it's really going to be a refreshing change of pace for them to move over and kind of start to focus on some single player. I think that'll be great.
I find it so strange though, because Amy Hennig, who made Uncharted, she was working on a single player Star Wars game for EA. They cancelled that. Now they're working on single player Star Wars games. Like, it's so strange. Why would they have cancelled her game?
Do you think that she's secretly involved in these?
That would be amazing, but I think she's working on. I've heard, like, also another off topic, that she's working on a Marvel game.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah. Now her team. She was working with Visceral, who made Dead Space.
Ooh, okay.
Her and those guys were the ones who were making the Star Wars game that she was working on, and it just got sold by EA. I'm just reading. 2 Star Wars titles in development, single player. I think one of these will be Jedi 2 Fallen Order.
Did EA publish the first one?
Jedi Fallen Order?
Yes.
So?
Okay. I couldn't remember. I know that that Respawn developed it, but I couldn't remember who published it, so.
EA own Respawn.
Oh, do they? Oh, I didn't realize that. Oh. Okay, well then.
Apex Legends is under EA, isn't it? Titanfall. Oh, those are all Respawn games.
Gotcha.
I am interested to see if one of these 2 games is Jedi. But like you said, it's kind of been confirmed, so it'd be cool if it's not that and we get another 2 single player Star Wars games.
Gotcha. I didn't realize that was the case with them. I didn't realize that EA owned Respawn.
And I bought them a while back.
Ah, okay.
His trend is buying developers and then shutting them down, isn't it? But Respawn seem to be lasting for them. And the one that does well.
Oh, they did a great job with Fallen Order. That was a journey. That was a great journey, that one.
You can get a Mandalorian mod for that game. So cool.
Really?
You can change the character to be Mandalorian. It just looks really cool.
That's all. I got the Inquisitor skin on right now. I haven't played it in a week or two, but I've got the Inquisitor skin in my purple.
You meant you were wearing it in real life for a second then?
I'm sorry?
You're sitting there. I thought you meant that you were actually wearing it in real life. You were sitting there in the costume.
No, I've got Jedi robes on right now. But
nothing on underneath.
I don't want to. I was going to make a joke, but I'm not gonna, out of one of the names of the characters. But yeah, no, it's
okay.
Yeah, no, I like that. I would like it to be. I mean, if it is going to be Fallen Order 2, that's great. But if not, then it's if it's not going to be Fallen Order 2, I'd like it to I'd like to have those other 2 games. But Fallen Order was good, and it does warrant a sequel. I mean, I don't know where they'll go story wise from it, but I think it warrants a sequel. It was a lot of fun, and the story was good, and yeah. So I'm pretty cool with that. If EA can, I feel like EA should be on, or at least I think they should feel like that they need to be on their best behavior, because there are 1,001 other developers out there that if they got their hands on Star Wars, I think would be amazing.
Well, speaking of EA, Amazon Studios is reportedly in talks with them about developing a live-action Mass Effect series for Amazon Prime.
Ooh.
Think of that. Exciting, or do you not care?
I don't know how to feel. I don't know how to feel for that. Feel for that. Excuse me. I don't know how to feel about that. Like, I'm a huge Mass Effect fan. I really enjoyed I really enjoyed the first 3 games. I wasn't a huge fan of Andromeda. But like, so far there have been so few video game adaptations that have been made into television shows or videos or movies that every time that they're kind of moved over, they're just awful. And
It's true.
I'm kind of worried about that being butchered. Like I get that there a lot of people like them, but like the Mila Jovovich Resident Evils, in my opinion, are not really Resident Evil. They're just kind of
No, yeah, they're not good.
So, I mean, they're good. They have that new Resident Evil that kind of came out fairly recently, which I think would be interesting because it looked very much like it follows the first game. But like other than that, just side note, can you think of what video game movies can you think of that were good, that were based off of a video game?
I've got one where it kind of makes me just sound like a biased fanboy, and that's the original Mortal Kombat film.
Okay.
I genuinely love that film, and I think it's great.
Okay, that's
got nostalgia goggles.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
Besides that, Silent Hill. I actually like the Silent Hill film.
Oh, I didn't even know they had done. I don't think I've ever seen that.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't even know they had done a Silent Hill film.
Of them? Second one's dog shit, but watch the first one. It's great.
I didn't even know about that. I'm trying to think. I'm even trying to think right now of movies that were just video game, because I'm thinking of things like the Witcher series, which that's a book, so that's a whole and the series goes off of the book, so that's a whole different story. But
yeah, I forget that's based on the books, isn't it? It's nothing to do with the games.
Yeah, no, not really. In all honesty, from what little of it I've gotten to see, because I haven't gotten to sit down and really watch it, but from what little of it I have seen, it actually follows the book, The Last Wish, which is the first book, quite well. Which means that it doesn't really do much with the game. I guess the first game kind of follows the book decently, but yeah, it follows the book. So I don't really count that because there's different source material to go off of. But I'm thinking of like the Mario Brothers film from the early '90s with was it Bob Hopkins, something, and John Leguizamo and Dennis Hopper, I think, and then there's Mortal Kombat film, which was great. I do agree with you on that one from '95, I think, but then
also enjoy the Street Fighter film, but I know it's terrible.
Wait, are you talking about
that it's bad? The one with Van Damme.
Oh no, yeah, okay, that's fair. That's fair.
No, it's not good. Like it's not good in any way. Like I think Jean-Claude Van Damme is coked out of his mind during that film. I find it entertaining, especially Julia that plays M. Bison.
Yes,
it's funny to watch. He's like, if all his scenes was cut into one film, that film would be amazing.
Oh,
everything else out.
He poured his heart and soul into trying to make the character just. I don't even know what his goal was exactly. Like he seems like he just. But I agree with you that that's a fun watch. But like the more like the Doom movie wasn't very good.
No.
What else was there? I'm trying to think of other.
The Monster Hunter film was really bad too.
Oh, I forgot about that. I haven't even seen that one.
You don't need to.
Like I said with the Resident Evil and which granted they did do a Resident Evil Netflix series, which was kind of done in CG, and it was it's not very many. It's very short. It's a few episodes, and it was honestly okay. It was. It almost looks like it was done in the same graphics engine as the remakes were, 2 and 3 remakes were. That one was actually pretty decent. That was pretty fun to watch, but it took that long. I mean, they've made the Mila Jovovich ones from forever, so it's like, how long does it take to make a good video game movie? And I can't think of any video game movies that are just super. Oh, you know what? I'll change that. There is technically an exception, and that's Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh yeah, I actually really like that film.
Right? That one with James Marsden and Ben Schwartz and Jim Carrey, like that. Okay, it took Sega a whole decade of just making utter garbage and everything else, but the movie was actually pretty darn funny. So
good people like the Pikachu film too, but I haven't seen it.
Oh yeah,
Detective Pikachu.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either. I've said this before, and it gets me a lot of hate, and I don't mean for it to be an offensive thing. It's not because I don't have interest. It's just because it just kind of after my, I say after my time. It may not have been technically, but Pokemon, I don't know anything really about it. I just don't. I
Can't stand it.
I didn't grow up with it, and so so when it got popular, and I was already doing other things, and then by the time that I got into, or that I could get into it, I guess it was just, there was so much for me to remember and to keep up with, and I was like, there's just no way. Hundreds of these little creatures.
Never understood the appeal. Series. Games too. I just don't get it.
Did you try to play the games first, or what? I mean, like, what was your introduction to it? To where you developed your opinion?
I should remember playing one of them on Game Boy.
Okay.
To death. Girlfriend's a big fan of like all the games and the cards and all that shit. Just I can't follow it. I don't on the appeal. Huge. It's so huge.
I could never play. I could never get through the games. Like, everybody says that they're so good, and I'm not saying that they're wrong. I mean, it's just not for me. But like, to me, it just seems like it's almost like a coin collecting, game. It's like, or what was was it Pogs? The little.
I remember those.
The little like collectible. It was basically a collectible way to play Tiddlywinks, I think. Which I know I used an old term. That's gonna sound like an old term. But yeah, that's basically what it is, right? It's Tiddlywinks, right?
I Google. What is it? Pogs? I can't remember the name of them.
Yeah, I think it was Pogs.
I think I had some Mortal Kombat Pogs.
Oh, that's cool.
Of course I did.
That's cool.
Wait, what? So, I'm looking. I'm getting sidetracked.
cut to video.
Pokemon and Pogs.
I was gonna say cut to video. Cut to the video of you, and it's got you on eBay buying Pogs.
Mortal Kombat one specifically.
Yeah, exactly.
Fun little pointless fact. The guy who directed the Mortal Kombat film, good one. The guy that made all of the dog shit Resident Evil films, same person. Also made the dog shit Monster Hunter film too.
Oh, good lord! So this guy's just
I don't know what happened, but once he got past the 90s, something terrible happened to his films.
Oh, jeez, that's rough.
A bit harsh, but yeah.
I mean, if they're not good, they're not good. That's just, there's no,
really not.
You can't dance around that. I don't know. To me, so there are a couple of things, honestly, that I think could make this worth
Yeah,
watching.
we're talking about Mass Effect, aren't we? I forgot.
No, it's okay. No, it's all right. I mean, like, that's part of the fun, is just kind of going off and comparing. But like, I still, by the way, I could be wrong about that though. I know it sounds weird, but for anybody who has never, if you've played Pogs, I believe that's Tiddlywinks. I know that sounds weird, but I think that's what it is. But for the Mass Effect, the thing that I think could help it, honestly, there in my opinion, there are two really strong factors that I think could make it pretty good. One is that the writer of the original source material is the same writer that did KOTOR and did a number of others, and that's Drew Karpyshyn. And we talked about him, I think maybe on the last episode, but I've talked about him several times. He's the guy that wrote, like I said, the first KOTOR. He's written some Star Wars stuff, and almost all of the things that he's written in terms of just his Star Wars stuff has just been amazing. There in Star Wars, there are authors that are not very good, and he is not one of them. All of the books he's written, which are Old Republic or the Darth Bane novels, are really good. Moving over to Mass Effect, he's also, if I'm not mistaken, written some of the, or several, maybe even several of the books from the Mass Effect series, or from the Mass Effect novels. So if they choose to use his source material, and they choose to kind of not deviate too terribly much for that, taking liberties where they need to, I think it could be good. If they choose to try and keep it as an adaptation of, very loose adaptation of Mass Effect, where it's basically just people in space, and one of them happens to be named Shepard, I probably will be. I'll probably won't watch it, honestly.
Do you think there are more space like epics? I mean,
I think I think space has become like space was a big deal in the '60s for entertainment. And I think it's kind of gone the same way because like that you had like you had like it wasn't Buck Rogers, I think it was, but then you had like Flash Gordon and such, and then I think we kind of come full circle again. And there's like a lot of Star Trek and Mass Effect and the Orville and all that kind of stuff coming back around. So it does seem like the space has been a lot.
Another one.
I'm sorry?
Have you seen that film yet?
Oh, no, I haven't yet.
Watch that. That's like a big pick, isn't it?
I was told that, and I just
exciting bit of file for you here. Pog being called the Tiddlywinks of the 1990s.
Okay.
There you go.
All right, I'm happy about that then.
We'll put that in the comment section too, so everyone can learn that. Well, that too.
I feel sometimes like I'm not super old, right? But I feel like that some of the stuff that I say makes me sound really ancient, and I'm like, anyone ever play? Like everybody knows what Pogs is, but if I told you, oh, that's just Tiddlywinks, the game that dates back to like 1910, or even further maybe, but
1910.
You're like, oh well, what were you doing in 1910? And I'm like, I don't know, waiting to be born.
This show, I'll just be honest, I have no interest in this Mass Effect show. Not a huge fan. Like I think they're good games, not something I like really love.
Did you read the book?
I'm kind of tired of all these games turning into films and stuff, and always seem to fail.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, anyhow. It's Sonic, like you said. I actually forgot about that one. It could be good, we haven't seen it, have we? You never know. But I think it'll lean towards very good, at least in my opinion. We'll see.
Have you, and you may not, this is just a general question, but Mass Effect, Halo, Star Wars, all of those, do you ever read any of the like extra, if you really like a franchise and they happen to have books, like The Witcher, of course, is a game based off of books, but Halo has books based off of the game, which are pretty good, and Mass Effect as well. Do you ever go and like extend yourself into those? Do you ever read any of that?
I haven't, but I have been intrigued by the Star Wars stuff. Finding some, because I've asked you before about recommendations and stuff.
Mm-hmm,
Still need to check some out. For some reason, Star Wars just interests me more than franchises like that have also got books. So I would like to see some of that stuff. I haven't at the moment, no.
Okay, fair enough. I stand by what I said just as a side note that, and I think you suggested this as well, that they should definitely make a television show or a movie on the Star Wars horror films that they kind of wrote in the books, Red Harvest and Death Trooper, the Star Wars zombie epics.
I would like to see a game, like a horror Star Wars game.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
I would be good with that.
I mean, there's a 1% chance that's one of EA's games.
I was thinking that too. I was like, I mean, they I guess yet again, there's material for it. There are books. There are books for that. So just take those books, make them into a game. But I usually, it's an easy segue for me if it's okay. But just I always find myself on Star Wars for some reason. I don't try to do it. It just seems to be that it's prevalent these days, and people are kind of waiting with bated breath. But recently, I was super excited about this, that Microsoft did a huge, just a massive backwards compatibility dump for the Xbox 20th anniversary. And in that dump, they did several, like you had the some of them that you had listed on here that I didn't even realize. I hadn't even gotten to the list, but you listed Dead or Alive, Time Splitters, and Max Payne 3, Time Splitters 2 specifically, Dead or Alive, Mortal Kombat. And the one I jumped on immediately just because was Star Wars Jedi Knight 2 Jedi Outcast. and Star Wars Episode 3. Star Wars Episode 3 really hadn't been playable on anything else. Jedi Outcast, in my opinion, is probably the best of the Jedi Outcast. Is probably the best of the Jedi Knight series, and I've played it before on the channel, on my channel, sorry. But it's on the PlayStation and on the Switch, it's the Aspire port, which is basically just a PC port, which strips it down to its bare bones components and upscales the graphics.
Okay.
And in this new backwards compatibility, you can actually place your I didn't buy it digitally. All of the original Xbox backwards compatible titles are $9.99 if you want to buy them as standalone, or you can actually go take your old Xbox original discs and put them in, and you automatically have them. So I went and put in my old disc and ran it, and it is not the Aspire upscaled version being unlocked by a key on my disc. It is the actual original Xbox version with its full multiplayer feature and function, which the multiplayer was not you had an online option, but it was just you could do 2-player with bots kind of thing, and they did upscale the graphics and make them a little cleaner, but it has everything that the original Xbox version had. As well as it actually, because the processor is so much more powerful than the 20-year-old Xbox, it is there were points where you would have 20 bots on a screen and yourself, and it would lag, and your frame rate would drop to, in some cases, as little as 1 or 2 frames per second for maybe 2 or 3 seconds. And so now they've taken it, and on this one, since the processor is just that much more powerful, there's no slowdown, there's no lag, no latency, none of that. It's just I was so happy about that. I'm actually super excited about that, and I've yet to do it. They launched 76 total games as a backwards compatible celebration, and some of them were kind of the esoteric, like I said, Star Wars Episode 3, where you're like, why did you put that on there? But they, as I understand it, that's going to be kind of the end of their backwards compatibility program.
Read this real quick.
Sure.
I wrote down too.
Sure.
Oh, He Lau, who is the compatibility program lead at Xbox, said, "While we continue to stay focused on preserving and enhancing the art form of games, reached the limit of our ability to bring new games to the catalogue past due to licensing, legal and technical constraints." That was interesting of why they can't bring any more. They've already brought a ton.
Sure.
Ended.
I guess the technical constraints part of me kind of puzzles me out of that. The legal and the licensing I understand, but the technical I think kind of there was a game specifically that I was hoping was going to... JSRF. There we go. Jet Set Radio Future is the sequel to the Jet Set Radio or Jet Grind Radio for the Dreamcast, and one of my favorite launch titles / pack-in titles ever. But it was launched originally with Xboxes about 20 years ago, and so when I got my Xbox, I got JSRF and I got Sega GT 2002, and those two games, both developed by and published by Sega, are some of the in my opinion some of the best pack-in games that have ever been launched, but also just some of the greatest random games. And I was really hoping hardcore that they would be able to get those backwards compatible. And as far as I'm aware, that's kind of where the licensing part came, where Sega's just like, no, Sega had issue with maintaining licensing with several of the musical artists that had come in, and then because of them not being able to get those licenses, then Sega themselves couldn't relay licensing or the rights to make it continuously backwards compatible to Microsoft. As happy as I am that they decided to kind of go out with a bang, I am a little bit disappointed that there are still games that I'm very aware of and that I feel like are very popular that will never make their way to a modern console. You have to continue to play them on the original hardware, which is becoming more and more difficult as time goes by.
Do you have a rough idea of how many backwards compatible games are actually on the console?
260 something, I think.
Really?
That's not included, but bearing in mind it's more than that if you include everything. Like if you include
I know what you mean.
Art, like the arcade stuff that they had.
Yeah.
It's quite a bit. I want to take a look at that actually, just see if I can do it complete. Because I will say that that is kind of me being a little bit picky, but it's me being picky because I really like the game. I'm not upset at Microsoft for it. I understand it, but at the same time, it is one of my favorite games. So yeah. So it looks like if we, and I'm just gonna double check, but it looks like that if we include original Xbox, let's see, excuse me. If we include original Xbox, so it looks like that there are. I'd have to see how up to date this list is here. Okay, so if we're including the original Xbox games alone, that's there's 63 of them that were made compatible out of 997 total games released. So we're not quite at the, what is that, 6%, 7%, something like that.
Crazy.
So that's not a lot, but it's quite. And they took the good. They took most of the good ones. I'm gonna look. Yeah, no.
I love what they're doing though, because I'm more of a PlayStation guy. I just prefer their IP.
Sure. Yeah, I can.
Xbox is like leaning into the backwards compatible and just preserving games more. It's just they're really doing well on that front. Like they're just stepping it up lately and very consumer friendly, or at least they are at the minute.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff, and it's just really good. I really want an Xbox.
Well,
I get an S soon.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think you'll. I think you'll. Honestly, the X versus S thing, I think you'll be super happy with an S. It's just fun. I think looking forward, like you said, looking forward with things. I really love PlayStation, but when you get to like look back and kind of play the games, like I said, I popped my 20-year-old disc almost 20-year-old discs inside of the console to play it. KOTOR of course continues to get remakes, but I can take my near 20-year-old disc and pop it into the console and play that. That's super great, but there's nothing that's exclusive that I'm super looking forward to that's coming on the console new either. So
it's the thing too with, for me, the fact that Time Splitters and like Mortal Kombat, specifically Mortal Kombat 9, available on like current gen consoles now, that's enough for me to buy the Series S just to play those.
Oh yeah.
I want to play Halo and stuff, but their backwards compatibility is actually what I'm interested in the most out of everything they've got.
Yeah, heck yeah. I mean, it's like I said, there's a little bit just kind of charming about being able to go back and that is one of the things I really like about. I liked it about the original PS3s, is you had the PS1, the PS2, and the PS3 built in the big guys, right?
Pretty good.
In the slim versions, you just got the PS1 and the PS3. You didn't get a PS2. With the PS5, I think you kind of just get, and you know better than I do on that, but I think you kind of just get PS4 and PS5, and some PS3 if you have PS Now, right?
Yeah, you there's a couple PS2 from PS Now too, but it's hardly anything.
Okay.
Mainly PS4. There's some PS3, but yeah, and PS5 of course.
Right.
I feel like they need to step up PS Now a lot and kind of brand it or just restart the thing. If you look at that in the Game Pass, there's no comparison.
Yeah, I mean, Game Pass, in my opinion, is I get it. There's a money making part of it, but like to me, it almost feels like it's a borderline charity thing, because it does not feel like, it feels like you get a lot more than what you're paying for. Out of that. Like I said, there's just something charming about being able to go back all the way to the very first generation of the console, pop a disc into the newest iteration of the console, and still play that game, and it be 95% the same as it was then, except for the other 5% or updates that they've made to make it more playable or more visually appealing. That's just, to me, that's in a non-derogatory way, that's a ton of fan service, and I really appreciate that.
Nostalgia is strong too. People love to go back and see old stuff, and so when it's easier to do that, it's just great.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They did. It looks like for 360, and on the three. If you add 360, which I think on that they're also adding. It looks like they're adding the arcade 360 stuff too, so the XBLA stuff.
Cool.
But it looks like that there were 632 of those done out of the 2154 total that had been released. So that's somewhere around 27%, I think, of. So over a quarter of the games that were released for the 360, over a quarter of them have been made backwards compatible. And then of the original.
The thing too, there's so many games that are people's favourites. You're not going to please everyone.
Oh yeah.
There's always going to be some games that are left out, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah, and that's part. I mean, I hope I didn't come across that way for them, but like that's my thing. Like I'm a little disappointed, but I do understand it, and like I get it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I get it. It could have been. Oh, I didn't realize. Ooh. Okay. I just realized as I was looking at this list, I just realized they put Advent Rising on the November 15th, 2021 update, which I really liked that game. So another space epic. Man, dang. Okay, well, I gotta go check that list out. So,
Never played that game.
It's I remember, I think when I very first kind of got an Xbox and I very first kind of was messing around, the game was given to me by a friend, and it's kind of got that like cinematic feel to it. It plays like a third-person action / shooter.
That sounds good.
But it's got that kind of like cold open where you're like driving the ship and there's this opera theme, and it's very Godfather Star Wars. So, but yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm happy. They went out. They're going out with a bang, or they decided to go out with a bang. I think that's admirable. I'm happy about it. I want you to get an Xbox Series S and be able to share in the awesome gifts that our Lord and Savior Microsoft have bestowed upon us.
I'll get a Series S and all our plays time splitters. 2 years.
There'll be some Mortal Kombat on there, I bet. Maybe a little.
Oh yeah, obviously. Yeah.
So,
So
I have to ask a question because I know we kind of brushed on some of this the last time, but I guess I kind of want to segue, if it's all right, into it. Is we were talking the other day about Mortal Kombat Deception, I think.
that's correct. Yeah.
Would you? Because I know that it's kind of like the everything the light touches turns to crap. But would you sanction a Mortal Kombat Deception remake?
I actually prefer Shaolin Monks.
Oh really?
Yeah, because I would love a Deception remake, like especially just that game graded visually. I think would be crazy. And did you ever play Shaolin Monks?
I did, but I did, but I can't say I'm familiar with it, or at least nowhere near as much as I am with something like Deception.
Yeah, like not about like casual fans, but Mortal Kombat fans love that game. It's been asked for like a remaster or a remake for so long. The creator Ed Boon, he always teases you, but you don't know if it's actually going to happen. A lot of people want a sequel, but a lot of people just want a Shaolin Monks remake. I'd be intrigued by, but I'd kind of be curious as to if they would change up the gameplay too much, being like a nowadays game. You know what I mean?
Well, I get where you're coming from. What makes to you? Because you may have said it and I may have missed it, but like, what makes that game so much more appealing for Mortal Kombat fans?
I don't know if it's necessarily more appealing than like other Mortal Kombat games. I think it's just because it was different. You know, where Mortal Kombat's just the fighting games, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. That was it was like a branch out to try a different genre. I'd kind of like, I won't say God of War, but it was those hack and slash PS2 action games. Exactly like that kind of genre. I think it did really well and it was really well made. I think because different to what everyone knows of Mortal Kombat. Even now, there hasn't been another game in the series that has kind of branched out and tried something new. Like, because that's still the one that sticks out. A lot of people want to see it come back, whether it's a sequel or a remake or even a remaster. Like, I would be happy with just a remaster of the PS2 version. I think it's mainly just because it's something different than what we're used to as Mortal Kombat fans.
I remember that was kind of what my appeal with Deception was, because I didn't know, like I knew what Mortal Kombat was. I'd been playing Mortal Kombat for years at that point, but when Deception was kind of announced, I had a subscription to a game magazine. I think it was Game Pro, maybe. I had Game Informer, but I think it was Game Pro, and they were it was a 2-page spread on how it was going to have a story mode and how it was going to have you could make a customizable fighter, and they were going to let you customize things to the nth degree. And of course, being a fan of Mortal Kombat and knowing how diverse the character range was, I thought that was really cool. I mean, and even for me, I was a nerd with the I was the guy that was like excited about, which Ermac is the guy that I typically play as now. But I was excited back in the day when you had the quote unquote the Ermac character with the red. He was just wearing the same thing as Scorpion or Sub-Zero would wear, but it was
I know what you mean.
And so and of course me being at that time not knowing anything about tech, and tech not really being as easy to know as it is now, I didn't realize that was just error macro. I was like, oh
yeah.
But they did a really cool thing. They took him and they turned him into probably one of my favorite characters from the series. Just but so
it's like what they did with Reptile, which was a secret fight, wasn't he, in the first game?
Mm-hmm, yeah,
it was just a green version of Scorpion. There was he just used the spear and everything. They eventually gave him his own moveset in MK2 and his own character. I feel like that's happened a few times in Mortal Kombat. Is they've had these characters that have become more famous or more known than they expected, and then they just turn them into their own thing.
Yeah, I agree. And I thought, I mean, the thing that they did that was so cool, and maybe they're still doing it and I just haven't caught on to it, but like was the because you'd have the words flash on the screen and kind of give you the hint. And then you had, I can't remember exactly how you unlocked them, but it was like having to get a specific type of fight on a specific map when the moon was at a specific thing, I think.
Yeah.
And
specific.
Yeah, and that was such a cool thing because it was like, it was enough of a clue to kind of get what was going on. And then you felt super cool when I don't know, like, I feel like that kind of era of games has kind of gone away because you had this, like, they did such a cool thing where it was this hint and this riddle, and then someone might have owned the game for 2 years and they only just now figured out, oh, this is what that means, and this unlocks me a whole other character that I'll play as for 6 months or a year, So.
Yeah, that's what I love, especially in fighting games. Like, I feel like that's vanished now.
Mm-hmm.
I like online, and I do think online's important for a fighting game nowadays. But I miss, like, arcade modes with secrets and secret fights and stuff.
Yeah,
that's literally just finished.
I see. Like, I have not. I don't think I've played a fighting game online, and it kind of goes back to what I was saying before. I'm sorry.
You've never played one.
Fighting games online. I don't think I ever have.
Don't blame you. It's stressful.
It's and part of it is me looking at watching YouTube videos of people like Low Tier God and who's the other Dark Side Phil.
Oh yeah.
Like and granted, like, those guys are utter garbage, but I feel like that I would be infinitely worse, no doubt. I'd be way worse than they are, but you see, like, some of how good the people that they're fighting are, even, and that Low Tier God is not the greatest person out there, not the greatest fighter out there. I mean, his personality is whatever you want to say, but then he has this
terrible.
Oh yeah, no, I agree with that. But like he's probably a halfway decent fighter. I mean, he does go and he's done competitions, and I think he's made enough money to like make part of a living off of it. So it's better than me. But at the same time, you see how good even those guys are versus the people that are like winning the championships, and you're just like, nah, I don't want to accidentally run into one of these guys in queue when I'm waiting for the. So so like for me, I like when I kind of call back to games, the fighting games. Like I love Mortal Kombat and I love Street Fighter and Street Fighter 2 Turbo and all that. But I think when I hit, for me, the golden era of the games were kind of in, yet again, more in the arcadey. Like I have great memories of Mortal Kombat and Mortal Kombat 2 and Mortal Kombat 3, but I feel like that 4 was where I felt like I hit my stride, even though it wasn't the most technically great. And
that's interesting. Yeah.
And then when it comes to like fighting games with the secrets, like you were mentioning, one of my favorites, or some of my favorites rather, was I loved the Marvel versus Capcom and the Street Fighter versus X-Men and those. And you did have like the arcade cheat and the arcade mod or whatever, where you could go in, especially when the home versions even, which are pretty good. I think I have X-Men versus Street Fighter for Dreamcast, and I actually may have it for PlayStation version. But yeah, you have the, like you could go in and play as, I think it's Apocalypse, and he's just giant. It's just an arm and a torso and a head. And I'm like, that's the cool. Like I could play that game in story mode, just basically going match for match until I play, and like I'm happy. I don't. So, that's me on fighting games. Granted, I'm gonna concede this without having seen firsthand, because I believe it. You're infinitely more skilled at fighting games than I am.
Oh no.
You've never seen me play. Like sometimes I'll hit buttons and my character won't even have an opponent on screen, and my character will break his own leg or something. So
did you watch you play Power Rangers, that boss fight for
oh yeah, so I'm absolute garbage.
I didn't want to say, but yeah.
No, I'm absolute garbage. I have no problem. Like I had fun with it, but like I've forgotten about that.
The thing, man, as long as you're having fun.
Yeah.
Who cares about online and tryhards and stuff?
That's but side note, that game is amazing if you get a chance. Those codes, by the way, just for your sake, if you ever get to, those are turning those last fighter missions, turn those into multiplayer maps, so you can actually have player 1 as the Rangers and player 2. Cool. Yeah. I found that out and I was like, but yeah, on the topic of remakes, I mean, in that case, finding a good game like the Mortal Kombat ones to have remade, I think would be awesome. But I guess the general take, what is your general take on remakes? Like I know we talked a little bit last time about like the KOTOR one and such, but like just on the whole.
Rumors that Resident Evil 4 is getting a remake. My favorite game of all time. And I feel like my opinion has changed a little bit. I kind of don't care now if a game gets remade. You're always going to have the original. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, I'm at the stage now when if I hear that there's a remake, I'm like, okay, that's cool. I'll check it out when it comes out. But like, it doesn't erase my original version. Like, it's not going away. I feel like some people get really angry when a remake's announced, and I'm like, calm down. Like, what's the issue? Feel like you don't need to get so angry over you can play the original right now. Like, it's a remake, so of course they're going to change things. Do you know what I mean? So to be shocked by that, I've always found kind of funny, interesting.
I think that's a good way to look at it. I think my problem with the Star Wars one is just, yet again, bias, but I think there's a little more at stake than there would. The old KOTOR is not canon, and the new KOTOR will be canon.
And I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's where there's a little bit of it, because whatever happens in the new KOTOR, if I don't like it, is still technically gonna, like, there are gonna be ripples because people are gonna write books. Every time a new game or a new movie comes out, there are books that follow it, and those books are gonna have snippets of the, so like for example, episodes 7, 8, and 9, which aren't really all that great. They're official books, and those official books have the things that have happened, and those ripple out and they touch other books that would otherwise have been pretty good. So I think it's a good look, though. Honestly, for me, it's just on the topic of I say remakes. I don't know. I can't think of any remakes off the top of my head, or at least that I'm not, because I'm thinking of like remasters. I can't really think of any like remakes that have really just offended me. There's been a lot of I'm sorry.
The same, like I've never a film too, like a game or a film that's been remade. I'm never like offended that it's been made. I'm just like, oh, okay, not as good as the original, but it's fine.
Well, wait a minute.
Hurt the original in any way.
Mortal Kombat, though.
Oh, well, fuck that film. Oh, who won that is?
No, that one's still, but yeah, like I guess when it comes to remakes, like relaunches, rehashes, I don't really like. I don't know. I guess I don't know. I can't when you say remakes, I just can't think of it. Like I know KOTOR is going to be a remake, but I can't think of any remakes that just come off the top of my head that are. I can't honestly think of any remakes in general. Everything I'm thinking of a remaster. Okay, so I guess like Tomb Raider, I guess, would be a remake, right? Because the 3 that we got for the PS4/Xbox One are in the Uncharted style versus being kind of the rehash of the ones that were, or at least to some extent being the rehash of the PlayStation 1 titles. But other than that, I think
they're kind of reboots, though, in a way, aren't they? More so than remakes.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's true. Do they? And it's been a while since I played it, but didn't one of them at least reference back to one of the adventures that she had in the previous game, or am I misremembering that?
Actually, not sure. I think they take place before she becomes what she's known as in the original games.
Oh, okay.
I might be wrong. I feel like they're almost equals, but I might be wrong on that. I'm not sure.
No, I would take your word on that over mine. So I'm assuming that I'm thinking of something else. But
I understand what you mean. Like for me, I guess the Destroy All Humans remake is one that I really liked. I guess that's a remake, isn't it?
Oh, okay, yeah, that would be a.
Shadow of the Colossus, that was a good one.
But so okay, so I guess that makes, so when you're saying a remake, do you refer to, because I've noticed in this we've had a little bit of a difference in some of maybe the way that we use our nomenclature. Because when you say multiplayer, you're traditionally meaning multiplayer that is like earlier in this, you're traditionally talking about versus or online multiplayer.
That's what comes to mind.
Okay, I got you. All right. There's no right or wrong way to use it. I'm just making sure I'm on the same. So when you say remake, are you saying, for example, like the KOTOR remake, I think is going to be like a reboot. They're doing the story different. When you're saying remake, are you talking about like an HD version, or what does that mean to you?
When I think of that, I feel like I've used the word remaster for something like that.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Like Resident Evil 2 remake. I mean, it's in the name, but that's like a remake too, to me.
Okay. No, that makes.
What I mean, same with 3 too.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't on the complete. You're talking about remakes. Meanwhile, I'm over here in left field, and you're like, "Hey, you want to come back?" Kind of heard me back.
No, fine.
Yeah, no, I mean, well, in the case of, and in the case of just to, so if that's the definition there, then yeah, I think that, I mean, it's to me, it's almost absolutely 50-50, because they did, so the PlayStation 3 was in my opinion, the PlayStation 3 was the king of remakes, or queen of remakes, whatever gender you think that console might be. It was the top like console for remakes, because they did, and I think Xbox got some of these, but not all of them. They got the Silent Hill 2 and 3 remakes, which were not, in my opinion, very good. They got the Splinter Cell HD collection, which was 1, 2, and 3, which again, in my opinion, not great. They got the Tomb Raider remake collection, which was a trilogy, which was okay. The Sly Cooper collection remake, which was a trilogy, which was pretty darn good. the Ratchet and Clank trilogy, which was pretty darn good. The Jack and Daxter trilogy, which was pretty darn good. The God of War quintilogy. It wasn't really. It was the trilogy and the duology, because they did the first 3 on one disc, and then they did the PSP title upscales for on a separate. So, and those were good. Those were well done. And then they did the Metal Gear Solid. They did 2 of those. They did the HD remaster, which was just basically 2 and 3, and I think Peace Walker. And then they did the other one, which was the Legacy Collection, which is 10 games. It's all basically everything. Metal Gear Solid. So it was 1, 2, 3, 4. Peace Walker. They had 2 other titles that I think were exclusive to like France or something like that. And that one was amazing. Like for $50, you couldn't beat that. So I don't really have an overall opinion on that, because you heard the last few that I said were great, and then the first few I said were just awful. So I don't know. I went on
specifically with Resident Evil 4 for me. I'm still not sure if it's being confirmed, but I feel like it's one of those that's basically confirmed but not. It's happening, but it's not officially being said yet. If I had my way, I would just have it visually upgraded without any changes whatsoever. It's my favourite game, so I'm gonna say that, aren't I? Like with remakes, you just gotta let go of the game that you love, because that's the point of why they're making it. It's in the name.
Mm-hmm.
There's gonna be things that you probably don't agree with. I'm dreading Resident Evil 4 remakes. I feel like they're gonna just cut chunks of that game out. Especially after what they did with Resident Evil 3.
Oh, yeah.
They cut chunks of the game. Still like that remake, but now there's going to be a ton of stuff that's altered. They altered things in the VR version just because it's 2021. Certain things can't be said anymore because, up into a ball and cry.
What did they edit out of that? I haven't played the VR
dialogue,
version.
Like certain characters that say things to Ashley, and people just can't deal with it nowadays, can they? They're insane. They've cut a bunch of dialogue out. They've cut out when she basically hits on Leon at the end, when they're on the jet ski.
Oh, yeah?
They've cut a bunch of dialogue out, and I just know that's going to happen with the remake too. It'll be chopped up. As long as I've always got the original, I don't really mind. But I do understand why people get vested and want to see their favourite game just looking better.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of people hope that that's what a remake is just a better looking version, and it's not always that, sadly.
Yeah, I want someone to invent an algorithm that can take your old game and just visually scan it and reskin it on the fly. And it doesn't change. You're not hiring any actors or anything like that. It's just intelligent computer technology that says, these are the textures that they tried to emulate. These are better versions of those textures, and we're going to put them exactly where those other ones are. And, basically automatically upscales it. You can put your old Resident Evil 4 disc in the new console, and you have a better looking version of the exact same game.
That would be insane. Imagine if you could just put Resident Evil 4 from the PS2 into the PS5, and it just looks like a PS5 game. That's just how it works. Just real simple. Crazy.
To be fair, Capcom's engine, whatever they used, granted, like I agree that they cut a lot out of the third one specifically, but
I still like it. It's a good game, but that's my worry with 4 is that they cut a chunk out of 3, and 4 is an even longer game.
Mm-hmm.
Resident Evil 4 is a really long game.
Yeah. The remakes, though, I will say this to the credit of Capcom, like whatever engine that they are using for these remakes or have been using for these remakes is insane. Like, it is a beautiful engine, in my opinion.
It's literally called the RE engine. They use it for Devil May Cry 5 too.
Oh, and see,
using it a lot.
DMC 5 was gorgeous too. Like,
it's really good. Like, I feel like they've stepped up the last few years. They're just making great game.
Yeah.
I think all of the Resident Evils since 7 have been that end.
I think I may have asked this last time, but I've forgotten. Did you play DMC5? Did you enjoy it? If you did?
Yeah, I liked it. I wasn't a fan of, was his name V?
V, yeah.
Like, I didn't like his the style of gameplay. Like, I felt like whenever I had to play as him, it kind of slowed the game down for me.
Sure, yeah.
I liked it. I thought it was really fun. Enjoy Devil May Cry. I feel like I used to be a bigger fan than I am now, but there's no real reason. I feel like I just dropped off the franchise a little bit. I think it was really good.
Did you happen to go back and play?
Too.
Oh yeah, it was. Did you happen to go back and play what Virgil was doing during that whole time? They did have a whole story for him too.
I haven't played any of the expansions or whatever it was they've done. I've been meaning to, but I haven't got around to it.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah,
Fun.
I remember when they did DMC the 2012 version, and I was so disappointed because they changed the design and the one of my favorite things about Dante is his voice actor. He's just like the voice actor that he picked. I think he picked him up, the same voice actor in 2. It may have been 3 on, but definitely 3, 4, and now 5. And then they got rid of him and just kind of tried to do that whole reboot from DMC. And even though I thought DMC was fun, like they got rid of the voice actor. And of course, the voice actor was also in the like 10 episode or whatever it was, 15 episode anime. And I just
it's Ruben Langdon, isn't he?
Yes, yeah.
His name, yeah. He also voices Ken in Street Fighter.
Wait.
I'm aware of him.
Wait, really?
Yeah, he's Ken.
Oh, he's got such a cool voice. He's just got such a like it's almost like a cocky, like I know I'm better than you kind, which I guess fits Ken quite well because
it's literally that character.
Spoiled rich kid.
Did enjoy the gameplay of 2012 game, but I agree that changing the character and the voice and just everything other than the gameplay was like not good for me in that game. But I did enjoy playing it.
Yeah,
it was fun to play. But
like Capcom is. I mean, I respect Capcom for trying. I'm glad that 5 tells me that they were like, okay, we experimented and it didn't work, and we're happy to go back to what we were doing. Because I really liked 4 also. But
I still find it interesting why they changed it though, because I didn't feel like there was the outcry from fans to change it up. Like I feel like people liked 4. So then they just suddenly change it out of the blue, and you're like, "What's happened? Who is this? This isn't Dante." They quickly changed it back. They're like, "No worries, he's back."
I feel like it was bittersweet, but then also apparently the main character Dante, apparently I haven't seen this, but I have read it or had read it then. I mean, granted, this is almost 10 years ago now, if you can believe that. But he apparently was designed in the image of the writer, the main creator, the director, I guess. So
okay.
Part of me feels like it was maybe a little bit of a kind of silent, like, DMC4 wasn't exactly what I was hoping for, especially since DMC3 was so good. And part of it was probably the director being like, I want to make a game where I'm the star, and you know, Dante's my favorite character. He's a cool character, and so I want to be him. And they tried it, and it was, like I said, I mean, if that had been the first Devil May Cry I'd ever been exposed to, I wouldn't be upset. I mean, it's not like Dante's Awakening.
Exactly.
But yeah, granted that was an attempted reboot. 5 kind of comes back up, and it was great, and it looks really pretty. And I don't know, as far as remakes go, me personally, I always get worried about them, but
I understand that. Understandable.
Just because when they do it, like you said, there is a potential for them to cut the content. But like there are some remakes at the same time, not to be hypocritical, but there are some that I'm just like, I really wish they would. Like I would really like the Splinter Cell trilogy.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I'd love that to be redone, but they're not gonna do it. I don't know.
Why?
But they did announce, speaking of Splinter Cell, they did announce that there is supposedly, for real this time, they're not teasing, another Splinter Cell game in development, finally. It probably won't be out for a couple of years, I'm assuming that if it's only just now in development, the average game development cycle is 3 to 5 years, unless you're, you know, uh, like we've said last time, Skyrim or whoever, where it takes you 10 to 20 years to get anything done. Um, but that does lead me to, like, I'm super excited about that. But that does lead me to ask, for games that are coming out next year, what are you looking forward to the most? What's coming out that you're excited about?
My number one game is the Callisto Protocol. Have you heard of it?
No, I have not.
It's basically a spiritual successor to Dead Space. It's a third-person survival horror game from the people that made Dead Space.
Oh my goodness!
It's essentially Dead Space 4. Just obviously they can't call it that because they would be all over them. It's the same director. Formed a new studio and he's making a brand new horror game. I'm just a huge fan of Dead Space. I think it's like the best survival horror game is, like, still. I'm a big fan of 2 also. It's literally Dead Space. Like, I don't know if you've seen the trailer. I'll have to show it you soon. Only a CG trailer, so I want to say I'm too excited because I often say I don't even think there should be CG trailers, so I'll sound a bit hypocritical. Just based on previous work and good Dead Space 1 and 2 were, at least for me. The fact that the same guy and or of the same team going back to that genre to try and make another survival horror game is so exciting. Definitely my number one.
That is super cool. I just took a look at some of the pictures on it. I need to see the but that is so freaking cool.
They've shown a CG trailer and then some artwork. There's been no gameplay, so I'm also glad that there isn't gameplay because it's not out yet. So they've quiet now. They're working on their game. So I hope when they next show something, it's close to being released. Because what it says right now is 2022, so that could be December 31st for all we know.
Sure, and it probably will be. I mean, honestly, holidays are a hot time to hit it anyway. But just as a curiosity, I don't see anything. Is it still going to be Isaac, or are we looking at new people to?
No, yeah, it's brand new. Like, it's not Dead Space, obviously, because it's not attached. It's basically like what's a good example? Spiritual successor. It's Mighty Number 9, even though that's a really bad example because it wasn't very good. So that was basically Mega Man without being Mega Man.
But Bloodstained. It's the good version of.
There you go. Yeah, it's basically Bloodstained to Castlevania. So Callisto to Dead Space. It's going to be that. So I'm really excited. I'm a big horror fan too, especially survival horror games.
That is so freaking well. Because I love Dead Space. And yet again, I think we touched on it before, but like I like the first one. The second one was okay. The third one I didn't care for. Part of it was just the less mysterious Isaac became, the more I was a little bit frustrated. And of course, the more run and gun it became, it was, I was a little bit. The first ones I thought, and even the second one did really well, kind of keep the anticipation and you don't know what's coming next, up. But I just barely for the, the marketing was brilliant too. The yourmomwillhatethis.com was pretty brilliant. But I played them, and I'm just now getting my wife to play them, and she's like, they are so scary. I don't know if I can play them with it. So I love that. I love getting to share that with her. I'm sorry, not Dead Space. So Callisto Protocol is topping your number one. Do you have other ones that you would like if you were doing this as a gold, a silver, and a bronze? Do you have a silver and a bronze, or is it just everything? All bets on red.
I think I do. Real quick, I just want to mention about this game. I'm a little bit worried for it in a sense that Dead Space remake is also coming out. I hope that doesn't cross paths and will kind of take their eyes off this game to focus on a remake of something. Mm-hmm. Speaking of remakes, you mentioned Dead Space, which I'm excited for, but just hope that doesn't get overshadowed by the Dead Space remake. It is, like I said, a spiritual successor. I think Glenn Schofield, who is the director, he's even said that himself. He's worded it that it's a Dead Space spiritual successor, so the kind of game they want to make. So I just hope it doesn't get in the way of that game. like that is for Dead Space.
Sure. Well, it does kind of beg a question, though. It does kind of beg the question, like, what's better? A game that you don't know anything really about, but is going to have better graphics, and you have a team of people that behind it that you think will do a good job, or a game that you know you love, and they're going to make it look better and play better? Like, what?
Exactly. It's just interesting because I know people that are remaking Space that isn't the people that made that game. Seeing like the tech demos and it looks great, and I'll play it. It's just me. I'm more excited about the new game,
Sure. Yeah.
new vision. You know, played Dead Space and I love it, but I like to play something new too.
Sure. Yeah. That makes sense. I can appreciate
In
that.
terms of other games, I'm trying to think real quick. I want to just talk about games that are coming back because I know there's a Time Splitters game in the works. Really hope they don't mess that up. I don't have any faith in that game because I feel like there's things in Time Splitters that would be crucified nowadays.
Oh yeah.
But I feel like it's just not going to be the same. Like the personalities of the characters, things the characters say, just the goofiness of Time Splitters. I feel like that's just not going to be there. But I hope I'm wrong. I would love a new Time Splitters that's like as good as the original. I think what else is coming out? Shovel Knight Dig.
Oh, I didn't know about
a new
that.
game. It's I don't think it's essentially Shovel Knight 2. It's so you know it's a side scroller, isn't it? Shovel Knight. In this, you're going down game and digging. He's actually using his shovel to dig. It's really interesting if you can check out like a trailer or in. I love the art style. It looks like how Shovel Knight's NES. This kind of has an SNES feel to me. Like the art style of it looks improved.
Okay. Let's see here.
I love that developer. They've got another game coming out this year too called Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon. Really getting Shovel Knight out there.
Oh yeah, I can.
Would probably be my free. Are you looking at it now?
Yeah, I'm taking a quick peek at it. Yeah, definitely. I can definitely see where you're coming from for the SNES aesthetic.
It's obviously a different gameplay mechanic in a way. You're not going sideways across the screen. You're going down. I feel like it's not a sequel, but it's like a spin-off in a sense, or like a side game. I just think it looks really good, and I'm a big fan of that team.
Yeah. You have your
only one game. See, I think
you have your little meter on the side showing that you're. So what it looks like on the right side. It shows how deep you're going into how deep you're digging, and then at the very bottom it looks like it's got the little skull, like there's an inevitable boss fight coming.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
I have no idea when that's coming out. I assume it's next year, but be 2023. I'm not too sure.
Kind of wondering who the main boss is going to be as well too, just because we know Enchantress probably.
I think they're going to add a bunch of new knights, which is exciting, at least for me. I'm a huge fan of Shovel Knight, you know.
That's really cool. That is really cool. Okay, well then. Yeah, that's really, really neat.
Really think of anything else that's coming out right now. Oh, God of War. I know you only asked for 3 and I'm giving you 4, but new God of War I'm definitely excited for. I love the first, not the first one, the 2018 version.
Yes.
And that game's incredible, like just perfect for me. Insane.
That's so my gold medal game. I don't think my gold medal game will surprise you at all for 2022. And it's definitely Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. I'm just teasing.
Couldn't even hold in the laugh then, because there was a split second when I was like, oh, if he's actually being serious, I'm going to look like a dick. I was like, no, he can't be.
No, I'm not serious at all. Yet again, nothing against Breath of the Wild, but it's just not. I
am actually intrigued to try the sequel. I hope they improve on it.
It looked like to me that they were going to try to do some like, I don't know. To me, just make it a Zelda game and we'll be good. If not, just call it Breath of the Wild and we'll play it and it won't be Zelda and we'll be okay with that. Or at least I will.
Agreed.
And also don't make it walking simulator. Like put stuff in the middle of the wide open spaces to break up the monotony. Because I'd find when I played the game, I'd find encounters every so often, and then I'd also just have a lot of areas where I've just dead space, not doing anything, just walking.
Now what we need,
What is that?
our first guest needs to be a Breath of the Wild fan. There's just been Breath of the Wild hate for the first 2 episodes.
We're just gonna get it. Someone, we should have it. We should. The entire episode is just a court case, literally, of 2 defenders versus 2 prosecutors. Breath of the Wild, Ace Attorney style. Just objections. No, for me, gold medal is God of War Ragnarok. Excuse me. I love. I think I mentioned this before. If I didn't mention this before, I love mythology. I love Egyptian mythology. God of War, the original ones. The original. How many were there? Let's see. There was God of War 2, God of War 3, God of War Ghost of Sparta, Chains of Olympus, Ascension. So there were. What is that? 6 for the PS3, PS2, and that goes for. That went through all of the major Greco-Roman mythology or mythos, and that was cool. But my favorite mythology of all time is absolutely Norse mythology. I love the gods there. Just to me, always, with the exception of maybe Hindu mythology, the gods seem to be the most brutal and the most warmongering, and of course, like the whole like. Just Norse mythology in general is pretty brutal. Like, dying of old age is considered a punishable sin, to the point of where you will be sent to an eternity in Helheim if you die of old age. Die of sickness. That's, you have to die as an honorable, or as a warrior in battle. Not even honorable. You have to die as a warrior in battle, or otherwise you're destined to go and freeze your butt off in eternity. And a lot of the parodies is that Valhalla, when you go to Valhalla, your entire cycle is just eating yourself until you're ready to burst, going out and onto the battlefield and fighting, and then eating and fighting, and that's like, I don't know, something about the simplicity of that just really appealed to me. But there's a lot of like awesomeness in it, and the first, I don't think it's spoilers to say that the first one was awesome, but like nobody, in my opinion, nobody really knows who Baldur is. Like, I don't think very many people read Norse mythology or mythology in general. I think it was just kind of a new introduction, which I think was cool. But without reading any of the Norse mythology, I think everybody knows Thor. And we got the teaser at the very end of the first one that Thor is going to be a big part of it. And they also released artwork earlier this year of the design, the concept art for Thor. I
love his design.
Oh, I do too. It's such
good.
They did a lot of people were complaining apparently because he's got a bit of a belly, and I'm just like,
I wanted this supermodel Chris Hemsworth version of Thor, and they're like, no,
that's not.
He looks way cooler, man.
Yeah, he looks like like you would expect. Like, I expect a Norse god. Like, I'm not here to stigmatize any sort of body. Like, but to me, you take a Chris Hemsworth Thor and you put him up against a Kratos, and that's just a beat down. Thor's gone. This guy looks like a guy who I would be like. We saw what Baldur could do against Kratos. Like, this guy feels like, to me, I feel like I'm legitimately going to have trouble taking him down as Kratos, as a god. So I'm so excited for that. I'm just super excited, and I think that like everything about the previous God of... I was counting on my fingers and I popped a finger, so I apologize for the clip of the mic. But everything about the previous God of War game was so well done, and it was with so little like well-known material that I feel like now that they've kind of hyped it up to have someone that we know, it's just I'm so stoked about that. So that's probably my gold medal.
Probably swap time splitters out with God of War, actually, in my main 3. I'm really looking forward to God of War.
God, there's just so much, like, everything about the previous one was so well, like, it played well, it was pretty, the story was good, the music was amazing. Bear McCreary did it. It was just so I'm super, and it's just, I don't know, I'm super excited about it. I think it's going to be amazing. Oh, and then of course I won't spoil, but if you've not played the first God of War, the 2018 God of War rather, they put a really good twist right before they tease Thor right at the end. And I'm really curious to see how that's going to play out, considering. But yet again, I don't want to spoil that because it's such a huge twist. I feel like it's worth playing the game to find out, or at least going through the effort of looking it up on YouTube if you really don't want to. But I don't want to spoil it here. I feel like that's just. But anyway, so God of War is absolutely my number one. But since you gave me 4, I'll give you 4. Is that okay?
Yeah.
I'm also really excited. If I had to go a silver medal or give a silver medal, I feel like that for me, this is probably not going to be super interesting for everybody else. But I am actually pretty darn excited about Marvel Midnight Suns.
Okay, yeah.
Did you see the trailer for that by chance?
This one's kind of it for me because when I first saw the trailer, I thought it was a NetherRealm game, which is the guys that make Mortal Kombat.
Ooh.
Because it was rumored that they were doing a Marvel fighting game. When I saw this trailer of these like realistic CG Marvel characters, I almost shit my pants in excitement because I thought they're actually doing it, and then it was like, this isn't NetherRealm. Oh no! But when I saw the gameplay, I was like, okay, it's like XCOM but with Marvel characters. This could be cool.
Yes.
It did win me over a little bit.
And it kind of checks a couple of boxes for me. Firstly, I mean, yes, it is like XCOM, like you said. So I do like the Firaxis, like Mario Cross Rabbids / XCOM / those were all really good. It ticks the Marvel box, obviously, and there's so many cool Marvel characters. They show, to just mention a few, they show Ghost Rider, Doctor Strange, Wolverine, Blade. And this is supposed to be kind of like the, this is not your dad's Marvel, like the nighttime thing. But the trailer they did was really awesome. It was with a rendition of Inner Sandman, and it's just really well put together. And you're against Lilith, which in the Diablo universe, Lilith is daughter of the devil, but I believe in the Marvel universe, Lilith is the daughter of Dracula. And because Dracula is kind of there is the devil. It's Mephistopheles in Marvel, but for lack of a better, when Mephistopheles isn't really playing the role of the devil, or Mephisto, whichever one, when he's not really playing the role of the devil, Dracula kind of takes it over. So I think if I'm not mistaken, Lilith is his daughter in the Marvel universe. But you're against, as far as the tease goes, you're against her. And you're playing as all of these awesome, like more of the After Dark Marvel characters, and so I kind of think that's going to be and it's the first time that a game, because Marvel canon's also kind of been all redone since the X-Men properties and the 20th Century Fox properties were purchased by Disney. So this will be the first time we're kind of getting a game, even before the Wolverine game, where we're starting to see like X-Men incorporated into the post-Marvel universe. Everything all right?
I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but you've just reminded me of the other game that I'm looking forward to.
Which one?
Wolverine. I forgot about that.
Is that 2022?
Oh, no. Never mind. That's true. It's 2023. You're right. Carry on.
No, it's good.
Be quiet.
No. I'm excited about that too. Like I'm excited. This is just a quick foray over, but like I'm super excited to see the X-Men finally incorporated into MCU. So
yeah.
But yeah, so it's going to be the first time we see some of the 20th Century Fox characters incorporated into the Marvel universe after the Disney buyout. It'll be the first time we've seen Wolverine, as far as I know, in a game post the Marvel buyout, because I believe the last game that he was in was Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, which had a bunch of X-Men in it, but that was before 20th Century Fox relinquished the X-Men rights over. So that'll be the first time we see that. The third one for me that I actually think is going to be really cool, and to me also a little bit terrifying, is going to be Sifu.
Yeah.
That it's a thing I hate and I love at the same time. But it's supposed to be a martial arts style game. It's they apparently did some really deep research into the martial arts aspect of things, and they worked really hard and all this other stuff. But the character that you have is a young martial artist, and he's apparently got, and yet again, this is a 30,000 foot view, but he's apparently got some sort of artifact, a medallion or something, where he can forego death, but every time he dies, quote unquote, he loses X years of his life. I think it's normally like 3. And so your character, the worse your character is, the older your character will get, which comes with apparently some benefits and some detriments. Like he becomes wiser, but he becomes more fragile, more Goodness. I hate that. I'm chronophobic, so I hate time. But part of me and I hate the concept of getting old. I don't care if it's a reality or not. I don't like it. But part of me also feels like that I would be motivated to do really good in this game because I hate seeing that. So,
that's interesting.
So I'm kind of going to torture myself with that one and probably end up getting it. And, you know, maybe the concept of it's just too, it's the only thing I'm afraid of is something like that, is the concept of time and getting older. So, you know, maybe that'll force me to do a really good job, or maybe I'll look at it and it'll remind me of real life and I'll put it up and never play it again. But I'm excited either way. It looks like they put a lot of love into it, a lot of TLC into it.
That's from the same developer that made Absolver. Did you play that?
No, I didn't. Was that any good?
It was okay. I feel like they're improving their formula with this Sifu. It looks like it almost looks like a better version of Absolver. Like, that was a martial arts game, so I feel like they have this thing that they like kind of gone in a new direction with Sifu. Yeah, Absolver was okay, but I feel like it was almost like a testing ground for what they wanted to make. New game.
Do you feel like just what you've seen from Sifu? Do you feel like that's kind of what they wanted to make, and then the Absolver was just the test for that?
Possibly, yeah. Because I feel like the gameplay is really similar. Like, I feel like at a glance it could almost look like a sequel, but more of a focused sequel on like a specific character.
Okay.
I definitely think that could be the case if they wanted to make that but made something else. I think it's more multiplayer focused Absolver. Like, you can fight players and stuff, but it was interesting, but it didn't have me. But this new game looks really cool, just the style of it, and the gameplay looks really fun.
It had a, like I said, it was just like that's kind of it's a kind of a terrifying concept, but at the same, for me at least, for, you know, anyone, but like I said, at the same time, I'm a huge, you know, martial arts fan and a big fan of, not just in games, but in general. I mean, obviously, I love the like Wire Fu style games. Like they had John Woo's Stranglehold on the 360 and the PS3.
Yeah, it was great.
Just like so. But yeah, and then of course, since I'm doing the 4th game, it was a toss up, honestly. But part of the toss, I had to pick up which one was exciting for me, and not just because they had the Harry Potter role playing, and I'm not a Harry Potter guy, but my wife is super excited about it, so I get excited about things for her too. But if I had to pick one that I'm excited about, or at least I'm hopeful for as the 4th, it would be Gotham Knights.
Okay, yeah.
I'm a little bummed out for a few reasons. So the big thing is that they're not following the formula of the previous Batman games, which I think is bittersweet. I'm a little bummed out that this one is not gonna, at least according to the adverts, it's not gonna have Batman in it. It's the main enemy is really cool. I think that's really cool, the Court of Owls. But it's the thing that I really love about it is that it is kind of focusing on the multiplayer aspect. So I feel like they're going to take all of the good stuff from the Batman Arkham games and they're going to put that into a multiplayer format. And there's a game that I used to love, and I still have it actually, thanks to a buddy of mine who bought me a more recent copy. But there was a game that I used to love back in the day called, and it was for the original Xbox, may have been for the PS2 as well, Batman Rise of Sensu. And
yeah.
Did you ever play that?
Yeah, I have little memory of it, but the name you just said like kind of triggered something in my brain.
Oh, well, hopefully a good thing, a good memory.
Yeah, I'm checking it out now. Yeah, I remember the cover and stuff.
It was a multiplayer game. I think you could play up to 4 players, all 4 players, but you could pick. It was done kind of in the style of the animated series, but 3D, and then you could play as Batman, Batwoman, Robin, and Nightwing, and Tim Drake Robin and Dick Grayson Nightwing. And I know you could at least do 2-player co-op on the same screen. So it's basically just this kind of top-down beat 'em up. and then you could go into, you'd have boss fights as well. I have to eventually play it on the channel because it's one of my,
That'd be cool.
it was one of my favorite, but I'd had to see if I could get someone in to play co-op with me on it. But yeah, so I feel like that it's going to kind of be that, but with the graphics and the free flow combat that they have in the new Arkham games. And the old one wasn't quite as mission orientated. It was, you had a couple of like disarm the bomb type things, or clear this area out before the timer goes off, or the hostages are blown up or something like that. I feel like that this can, because of the technology of it, I feel like this might be that and expand on it and add all the goodness that Arkham has. So, a little bit bummed that Batman's not going to be in it, but to me, that's pretty cool. And then also, like I said, seeing the Court of Owls as the main enemy, I think Batman versus the Court of Owls is also kind of this is not a comic book thing, so I get it. I won't go off on that, but I think Batman versus the Court of Owls is kind of a little bit one-sided in Batman's favor. But I think Court of Owls versus literally the entire other team, Batwoman, Nightwing, Robin, I don't think it's a toss-up. I would see the Court of Owls doing just as well. Because they're all martial arts.
I'm interested in this game because it's the same team that made Arkham Origins. I thought that was a really underrated Batman game. Never played that one.
Is that the one? Arkham Origins was the one with the advertised as Deathstroke as the main guy, right? It wasn't, but
yeah.
yeah. I honestly, I liked that one a lot. I actually have the statue that came with that one of the Joker sticking the thing.
I really enjoyed that game.
Yeah, the biggest bummer that I had, and it wasn't just, it was just yet again me being a picky, little kid and saying this is a well-grown man, but it wasn't Mark Hamill as the Joker. It was Troy Baker, and it wasn't Kevin Conroy as Batman, so even though the actors that did those respective roles in place of the people that I would originally have preferred did a phenomenal job. It's not me like criticizing them, it's just Kevin Conroy's been a part of Batman for me for almost 30 years, since 1993. So
literally Batman.
He is, he is Batman. You
change his name to Batman or Bruce Wayne.
He did a thing on YouTube. It was really fun, just as a funny, I don't remember, like parody or whatever, but anyway, it was him and it was him and the voice actor for Superman from the Superman animated series in the Justice League from the early 2000s. And they did like a whole 7-episode series of just the voice actors taking the roles of their characters and doing that. And it was pretty cool. Man, that's something I wish they would bring back. I wish they would bring back those early 2000s Justice Leagues. I feel like those were really good. But yeah, so I think those are my most anticipated right now, and that definitely in order. Like Gotham Knights is kind of the flip of a coin. Could be third place, but probably not, just depending on how good it is and how bad Sifu bothers me.
I think Gotham Knights will be good. It'll be fun.
Yeah, so I'm excited, but yeah, so Rise of Sin Tzu is I'm hoping that's kind of the thing. I don't know if that's considered a good game or not, but we did make mention of, I guess, one other thing, and that game would be a game that I considered one of these, which was hidden gems or quote unquote guilty pleasure games. Do you have any of those that you would either recommend or on the other hand maybe not recommend for people?
I have a game that I like a lot, and I feel like everyone hated it, and that was the Order 1886. Did you play that?
Yeah, that game was really short, if I remember right.
Yeah, a lot of people, they thought it was just the same. I had no issue with it. Like, I get that it was short and linear, but I just liked it for what it was. And I think I mentioned this with Bloodborne. I love that kind of Victorian setting. I feel like that world could have been really interesting in that game if they could have expanded on it with a sequel, but it never happened. I really like the setting and just the characters, and I actually enjoyed the gunplay, even though there wasn't much to it. I just thought it was I feel like people were overly critical of it, expecting more than what it offered. I feel like it never really advertised to be bigger than it was. So
sure,
we understand where the complaints come from. Like, I get, oh bloody hell, this is quite short and stuff, but I enjoyed it for what it was. I don't think it's a bad game in any way.
So did you consider that one? I mean, do you consider that one a hidden gem, or do you consider that more of a guilty pleasure, considering the reception?
I think I guess it'd be a guilty pleasure because I feel like no one likes that game. I feel like I'm the only person or one of the only people that mentions it, and every time I've looked it up, it's like everyone's just saying how bad it is, and I'm like, come on, it's not that bad. I can't really think of one that I would recommend that, like, you said hidden gem.
Yeah, just a game like that you think that. So it's hard to define, but like a game either that you feel like nobody knows about, or maybe it got buried in false bad reviews and nobody played it, and it ends up being really good. Somebody buried it under a 6 out of 10 rating.
It isn't exactly that, but I'm pretty wrong on this now. But I thought Mercs was a hidden gem. Since not knowing like from YouTube and that, I feel like everyone knows it, and I feel like it's become this thing where I thought it was this game that like me and my brother was the only people that knew, and then everyone's like, oh yeah, Mercs, that's great. I'm like, oh fucking hell, everyone knows it exists. It's not just me. It's an amazing game that I think people should play, which was on the Mega Drive and Genesis. Soundtrack and stuff. But I don't know if I'd necessarily call it a hidden gem. Now everyone seems to know it exists. So I think did you hear about that when I recommended it to you?
You told
new to you?
No, you. I was aware of it, but I didn't. I had no extensive, and I still don't have any extensive experience with it. I was aware of it.
Maybe it's a hidden gem then.
I mean, for me, it would have been like because I didn't really know. Like hearing something in passing and knowing that it's worth playing are, in my opinion, two very different things. I would say it was a hidden gem for me because I had no idea.
It's made by Capcom. And it's like a top-down shooter almost. It's really fun.
Okay.
That's definitely one I recommend if you've never heard it.
Yeah, I didn't
really think of any more. What would you have?
So gaming. Well, so as a hidden gem, it's really hard to say hidden gem for me because I'm the same way as you. Like I feel like a lot of people know about most of the games that I would mention. I don't tend to ride the bandwagon. So, for example, like The Order 1886. Like I think, me personally, I did not hate that game, and I didn't love that game. I thought it was it was okay. I mean, it played, like you said, it was exactly what it was advertised to be. So it didn't wow me, and it didn't like I was. And I agree with you too. I feel like a lot of people gave it a hard time, but then they loved Rise, Son of Rome, which I think is exactly the same thing. But
I feel like they're the exact same game. Like I enjoy both of them.
Yeah,
it's funny how they came out at a similar time on two different platforms.
Yeah,
exact same type of formula. It was really weird.
Yeah, you have one that's the gunplay, and you have one that's the melee, but they're both kind of the same thing over and over again for a short period of time, and the game's done. So like, I have a buddy that likes Rise, Son of Rome, and didn't care for The Order, and I'm like, they're kind of the same thing. So
it comes down to the setting.
True.
And stuff, mate. Yeah, you're right.
You're probably right on that. You're probably exactly right on that because I believe he's more of a fan of like ancient Rome than he versus you said, Victorian. But, so I don't know. I'll have to think for just a second on the hidden gems. So to buy myself time, I might mention a guilty pleasure game, and the guilty pleasure game. The guilty pleasure game that I'm going to mention is not like it's a legitimate guilty pleasure. It is not good. But it was, I want to say I got it on a whim. And it was Dark Messiah of Might and Magic. And originally it came out for the Xbox 360. It may have been out for the PlayStation as well. It's fine. Like it's okay. I think it's Might and Magic Dark Messiah Might and Magic Elements maybe is the one I'm thinking of. But anyway, it's this first person. It's kind of like the newer Thief game was, the like 2014 Thief or 2014 I think. But you were this mage, whatever, and it's not really about, you can be stealthy. but they decided for whatever reason to put a physics aspect into the game. And even though the game is as clunky as can be, and it's not very clear what direction you're meant to be going and what you're supposed to be doing, there is this I can legitimately go through the entire game with one spell, and it is the ice spell. And for whatever reason, your character's awkwardly got his hands crossed in an X in front of you the whole time, and it's kind of almost like the beginning of the Napoleon Dynamite dance, but you're walking around. And but if you can use the ice on somebody and it frees them, but what I would always do is if they're walking downstairs, you can cast ice at their feet and they will slip. That's a physics part of it. And if they happen to fall far enough, they'll just crack their own necks and die.
Sounds funny.
It's not a great game. I mean, it's definitely clunky and it doesn't have a great sense of direction. But yeah, like just because I could go and cast ice and have somebody slip and break their own neck and die, and you can go through the whole game and use these different random physics things. You know, fire has an equal kind of, I don't know. It's not a particularly good game, but I will sit there and I will just mess around with that the whole time, play the game through. But I highly recommend it if you're looking to just kind of toy around and kill some time. Like you even if you don't play it from beginning to end, or you don't do the story, I think you'll find fun in just figuring out how you can use the new spells, and that mechanic seems to work decently well. And you know, it's a lot of fun.
If you want to break some necks.
Exactly. Like there's a part where you're inside the room and literally I'll just cast it right at the top of the stairs and you'll watch 4 or 5 guys run and crack their neck down the stairs. Like it's not just a single enemy. You'll have 5 guys chase after you and break their own necks and die. Yeah, it's fun. It's great. It's you know, like there are games out there that are dead awful. Eventually one I'd like to do is worst game ever, like what we would consider to be the worst game ever.
Oh yeah, that would be fun.
So I don't want to spoil my opinion on that.
No.
Huh?
Breath of the Wild. Joke.
Worst game ever.
Not that bad. It's not that bad.
But yeah, it kind of is. No, I'm just messing around. No, yeah, I think. Yeah, I don't want to give any hints away, but I would say that this is a stone's throw away from what I consider to be the worst game ever, except for this particular mechanic, which. Yeah, I think this mechanic would be. But yeah, I'd love to do that in a future one. Worst game ever, or worst game experience ever, worst game buying experience, whatever the case might be. This game kind of is in that list almost, except for this mechanic, and it just makes everything good. Hidden game gems though. I feel like I have to go uber retro with this because there is a game that I feel like does not get a lot of love, and it deserves it. It came out in I think 90 or 91 for the NES, and like I feel like that retro gaming has kind of begun to pick up, so maybe more people are aware of this, but I feel like that retro gaming is still retro gaming. And so the original Nintendo system had over 800 games. I think it's like 838 games for the original NES / Famicom that you could play, and so even if retro is getting to be a big deal, there's a huge library to sift through. I think Vice Project Doom would be the game that I would recommend. Have you ever played that one?
I'm looking it up now.
It's
Oh wait, it's another one I recognise the cover of. Maybe I just used to see the box art in some place.
It's not a story the Jedi would tell you. No, it's kind of, so it was coming in at the very beginning of this Super Nintendo, Super Famicom lifespan, and really towards the end of the Famicom / Nintendo lifespan. Then the NES lifespan, or the NES, but it's a super good game. I don't feel like a lot of people are aware of it. I don't feel like a lot of people played it. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe a lot of people have, and but at least people that I had known, people that I knew, a lot of them just didn't have any clue. And but especially since retro style games are coming back into into fashion, and have been for a little while with games like Shovel Knight and Cyber Shadow, and The Messenger. This game covered a lot of different types of of play styles. So in the very beginning, you're playing as there's a cold open. You're playing as this top-down driver, almost spy hunter type character, and there's a boss fight, and then you move into post credits being a kind of side scroller action, and you have in the same style as you do in Hagane. For anybody who's played Hagane, that game that will cost you $1,500 to get now. It's, you have a samurai sword, you have a gun with limited ammunition, you have grenades, and you have these awesome, just epic boss fights, and they're pattern orientated, but at the same time they're difficult patterns that kind of, so it's if you're a fan of Ninja Gaiden, if you're a fan of like I said, Hagane, if anyone's played Hagane, if you're a fan of that, if you're a fan of, even in some way, honestly, Contra, or if you've played Phantom Fighter, any of those games, or all of them, this game right here is everything that those games offer plus a little bit extra. And I just don't feel like anybody knows about it. So I guess Vice Project Doom would be my hidden gem game for...
I would have loved this game. I'm watching it now. It's like a me game, especially the side-scrolling portions.
It's just, yeah, it's so well done. It's like I said, I mean, you have the top-down part to just kind of break the monotony, and I think I can't remember on this one if there was or wasn't. I think there is, though, even like a little first-person. Maybe there's not in this one. I can't remember. It's been a while. I thought there was a first-person mission in it, though, where you're kind of behind there's kind of like a reticle, and you're out there just kind of taking it, kind of almost like Battletoads had, which Battletoads actually kind of had the second person, where you were playing from the enemy's perspective. I guess it's still technically third person, but yeah, it's really good. It's I think it's still kind of pricey for a retro game. I still think it goes for between $30 and $50, which is, I mean, but it's honestly, for most of the game, a lot of people pay $30 or $29.99 for games that are shorter than this one, I think so.
Yeah.
If you like Cyber Shadow, you'll probably like it.
You like that game. It's a checkpoint.
So I think you're just sitting back. I do Cyber Shadow. I do think I have an opinion about that one.
I love that game, just not the checkpoints. That's literally my only issue with it.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know how many. I mean, I don't know if we'll be doing a gaming guilty pleasure, a guilty game pleasure every week, or a hidden gem every week. But if I just had one at the moment to recommend, that would be it. I mean, there are probably a pretty good list, But I also don't feel like a lot of those, because I was gonna say Snowboard Kids. I was gonna say Snowboard Kids 2, Atlas.
Oh, that's a great one.
But I maybe no one plays it, but that was what I was going to say originally. But I feel like people do still know about it. So, but that game is, I absolutely intend to play those games at some point just to showcase them, because I feel like that they didn't get the love they needed. But I do feel like people are at least aware of them. I actually tossed up a couple of hidden gems. I tossed up Vice. I tossed up Snowboard Kids. I tossed up Chameleon Twist. I tossed up,
Play Kid Chameleon. Speaking of chameleons.
I have played Kid Chameleon. I have.
Weird game.
That is Treasure did that one, right? Or what? No, what was it? Treasure that did Kid Chameleon?
Be quick.
It was. Let me see. I'm gonna take a look. I thought Treasure did that.
Holy shit! Mark Cerny was a programmer on this game. That's crazy.
Who was?
Mark Cerny. He's like a big deal in PlayStation, isn't he?
I'm not sure on that, honestly. You've got me on that.
He's a big, worked on a ton of games. I didn't know he worked on that.
Let's see here. Let's see. So Kid Chameleon was made by, or developed by, no, it was just developed by Sega.
It just says Sega.
Okay. Oh, Tectoy. Oh, I thought Treasure did it. Treasure were the ones that did Gunstar Heroes and Wario World for the GameCube. So, Kid Chameleon was completely different.
Sorry, I didn't mean to go off on something else there.
No, you're good. I mean, I'm glad to. I was gonna say Kid Chameleon was because Kid Chameleon was the trippy, weird, anyway.
Weird.
Oh yeah, it's super well. In those
strange game. They're on drugs.
Then those freaking floating heads are creepy too. But yeah, no, Chameleon Twist was like, it was a 64 game. They made two of them, but it was in the second one you're actual chameleons. In the first one you were these little kids, it looked like, or at least these little like alienoid style, humanoid style, just round circle head, and you had like different color ones. You had like the light blue one and the red one, and then the power that you have is you have the this tongue, and you stick your tongue out by holding the button down, and then your thumbstick can choose what direction your tongue goes. And you would go and you'd like grab onto wooden posts to help you get over large gaps, or if you were going to defeat a boss or an enemy, you would have like ants come out, and you could use your tongue to pick up like 6 of them at a time or 7 at a time. You have to use your thumbstick to steer it through all 7 of them and then pick them up, and then you could fire them out. It was a really weird game, but it was a lot of fun.
This game looks crazy.
Is it which one are you looking at?
Chameleon Twist.
Oh, the Chameleon Twist game. Yeah.
Sticking his tongue out at everybody.
Yeah, that was the main mechanic, was the catching things with your tongue, and yeah. So, maybe those are a couple of hidden gems, but yeah, they were a lot of fun. All of those.
Never heard of that one.
I rented it back in the mid-late 90s, I think. Maybe 97, 98. I rented it and had a lot of fun with it, and maybe it might have been, it was like 90, maybe it was 98, 99, but anyway, yeah, it was a lot of fun. But yeah, so I guess those would be, if you take all of them, if you want, as considerations for hidden gems, those are all great, but Vice is my big one. And then of course I'm only making note of that one game, that one guilty pleasure, just because I don't feel like I have a lot of them. I feel like most of the games I play are pretty decent, but and that may sound pretentious, but yeah, I think that's all I got on that.
Fun. I'll think of anyone. Chasm, that's one.
Chasm,
that's a hidden gem.
Let's see. I don't know if so that one, you may actually be introducing me to another one here too, because I don't know if I played
Metroidvania that I feel like no one have a chance.
What system was it for?
Well made. It's for Ita, the Switch, Xbox One.
Oh, okay.
See,
it looks a little bit like it almost looks like oh shoot, what is that? Not Bastion. What is that game that, because Bastion was an isometric. What was that, the game where you were solving time puzzles?
Side scroller.
Yeah, it was like a hand painted, like you could reverse time.
Braid.
That's what I was thinking. I don't know why I would say Bastion. It almost looks like, yet again, I could be wrong, but the art style almost looks a little bit like the environments, at least. Like the sprites look very Game Boy Advance-y to me, but the backdrops and such, the environments almost look like Braid to me.
It was cool. It was a Metroidvania, but I think it was procedurally generated. I just feel like it's becoming such a popular genre now, especially in like indie games and stuff. So no one gave that a chance, and I don't understand why. Like, I find it bad. I thought it was quite a good game. There's nothing wrong with it. Never understood why people didn't.
But it only got a 7 out of 10 or a 72%. That's not. That means it's not a good game, right? No, I'm teasing.
Dare you?
It immediately. No, it looks really fun. Honestly, it looks like. Yeah, if it's procedurally generated, even better. It reminds me. Dead Cells was one that I really liked. Procedurally generated.
So good. Yeah, Dead Cells is mad.
So I think this would be right up my alley. Oh man, I think this would be really, yeah. And they did it for the Switch as well, yeah. Oh, it's a 12-hour game too. So, oof. Okay, I know that you're not a big fan of I said that and then I was immediately like, I know you're not a big fan of the long form games. I do still enjoy long form games myself.
Depends on every now and then I can really jump into one and get invested, but like most part I like to play shorter days.
I can respect a game. I guess my thing is I respect a game. If I jump into a game and it takes me 4 to 6 hours, great. Okay, that's fine. And depending on how well those 4 to 6, I like how much I enjoy those 4 to 6 hours, great, as well. But at the same time too, like games are expensive, you know, $60-$70 depending on what kind of system you get them for and what game you get, and now of course there's always the gold and the platinum versions, and so I feel like that, you know, if I'm going to spend almost $100 on something, that I should get almost $100 out of it. And sometimes a 4 to 6 hour game that's really fun, you get that. But a lot of times when you spend that kind of money, you just don't, you don't get enough fulfillment out of the, at least I don't necessarily get enough fulfillment out of that. So it's like, yeah, like I said, you know, I mentioned Witcher was one, and KOTOR, of course, were one. But like, there are a couple of short games I've gotten that I was like, okay, this was like Shadow of the Colossus is not a particularly long game, I don't think, and I feel like that one. I feel like that one's a good. Or Super Mario World's another one. Like that was a $50 game, and I can pass. I think I've done it before, but I can literally pass the entirety of the game in 30 to 40 minutes. And then, of course, if I do all of it, I can pass it in like 5. And that's if I'm doing all 96 exits. Like those types of games that have the kind of endearing replay value, or they're just really good while you're playing them. But I think that those are fewer and far between these days.
That's true, yeah.
So, but... yeah, so I think that's all I've got for hidden gems and guilty pleasure games. Did you have any additional hidden gems you'd like to add, or?
I'll have to try and think of more. So I've got a guilty pleasure. Do you remember Clay Fighters?
Oh, yeah, I remember Clay Fighters. Yeah.
Those games aren't good. Like they're really not. But I love them. So stupid.
Oh, I do remember.
There's something about them that's like charming and goofy. I wish it would come back. I think it's one of those games where coming back nowadays it would just be void.
So do you just like fighters in general, just of any kind?
Not really. There are some that I don't like. There's just something about that. I think I played that when I was a kid as well, so there's like some nostalgia attached to it.
Okay, I was gonna say, because like I mean, if you've not played it, have you ever played Balls?
Balls?
Yeah, I'm not making a joke. The game is Balls. It's actually called Balls.
I was about to Google this. What's going to come up here?
I think it's Balls. Maybe Balls 3D. BALLZ, and it's maybe Balls 3D, but it's Balls.
Oh, I've just written Balls.
Google image.
Balls.
The
game called. That's not a fighting game. What's that?
Scrubbing your search history now.
Here we go.
Yes,
no, I've never played that. It looks fucking insane.
Oh my goodness, it's not a guilty pleasure. I do not like this game. I own it. I hate it. But it is I have it for the Sega. They made it for the Sega and the Super Nintendo.
Terrible.
Yeah, can you do me a favor? Just cause I'd love to hear your genuine reaction. Can you look up or view just briefly the like intro, the title screen theme of Balls or Balls 3D?
Balls 3D intro.
Yes, yeah. I want to hear your genuine reaction when you hear it. If it's because it's I don't think I've heard any theme as outrageous, and that includes games modern.
What is that?
Are you hearing it?
Sounds really excited.
The lady.
Of them, but those balls.
That. Yeah.
Balls. Welcome to my arena, amateur. You can defeat the jester. First, you'll have to shut. Oh, it's going too fast. I can't read it.
So is it already going? Is going into a match already?
Gone on to the Balls logo now.
Okay.
And from the woman moaning.
Okay.
Some guy, was he juggling?
Yes, there's a clown character.
And more moaning.
And
a lot of moaning.
So I don't.
10 out of 10. that intro.
So sorry about the coughing. That actually caught me. I was kind of hoping that so that's the intro. That's the legitimate intro theme they went with, and it's also that sound effect that you heard, the moaning, is also a sound effect or an intro sound effect of one of the female fighters. So when she gets hit, that's her sound effect. But it doesn't sound like it hurts, does it?
Oh, like the pain.
It definitely sounds a bit like a I was gonna say sadist. It's not that. It's a masochist. There we go.
It reminded me of Clay Fighter. Just the madness of you.
It's like Clay. Like I didn't care for Clay Fighter, and I understand and respect.
Yeah, it's not a good game, but there's just something about it. I enjoy it.
No, I completely get nostalgia, like for the sake of nostalgia, but it did remind me of Balls 3D. Yeah, I guess it is, and oh man, just awful fighting. Pit Fighter was another really awful fighting.
I used to love that when I was a kid, but yeah, it's not good.
This like
remember that game.
I played that game. I couldn't. I have it for the Super Nintendo, but like fighting games and but yeah, Balls 3D. That was the intro, and then all of your characters are balls, and if you win, great, and if you lose, your character becomes a puddle of balls just rolling around, and none of the characters. I mean, all of the characters have names, but they're literally just balls stacked on top of each other to make these shapes. And there's a clown character, a female character. I think there's one called Bruiser or Crusher or something like that. He's a big guy, and you're just like, oh, why did somebody, who came to the staff meeting and was like, hey, let's make a game about balls?
Would love to have seen the pitch for that game. What the response was.
There wasn't a sober person in the house at that time.
Definitely.
Guys at the meeting, and he's like, all right, so we're having our 1992 staff meeting. Want to make sure that we have everyone on the same page. And they have another guy rush in with, sweat, and his sleeves rolled up and his tie's loose, and he's got this crumpled up piece of paper in his hand. He's like, guys, I know what you're talking about. I know what you're thinking about. Here we go, just for a second, but hold on, hear me out. Balls. And the guy's just like, yeah, you know what? Give that guy a raise. We got this. Yeah, that's a wrap, guys. And you just calls it up.
I want to see how it was reviewed.
Oh, I'm sure it was reviewed. Please don't tell me it was reviewed anywhere near even neutral.
Another game called Balls for App Store. I don't want to see that. I want the fighting game. Game review. There it is.
I'm telling you, you're going to have to scrub your search history after this. You're going to end up with recommendations for things you don't want to see.
Is given a 6.75 out of 10.
You're kidding me.
Oh, who was on the drugs that reviewed that game?
That's way too high. That's way too high for that game.
What kind of scoring system's that? 3.125 out of 5.
3.125. Friggin' chemist doing this. It's like, I give it a pie out of 5. Oh,
81 out of 100. 91 out of 100. Jesus.
This is
amazing.
For anybody, also for anybody who's watching this too and is interested in our views on rating systems, we did go over that in the previous episode. So if you're wondering why, I mean, you may be sitting there and nodding your head going, oh, 6, that's pretty bad. We go over in depth kind of what our rating system were. So if you haven't checked the first episode out, definitely please do, because we go over we do cover some of the same things. There are some crossovers between this one, but we do go over rating systems kind of in depth on that one. So yeah, it's not good. 6 is way too high. 6 is above average, and that's just ugh. But yeah, so I guess I don't know. I mean, we're at the just past the 2.5 hour mark.
Jesus.
Time always goes.
We were going to do a shorter one today.
I think ours is honestly, after edits, this is still probably going to be a little longer than the previous episode. But I had a lot of fun doing it. So.
Yeah.
But yeah. So if do you want to go ahead and wrap us up and out?
Yep, guys. Thank you for watching. We'll be back. Do you think it'll be Sunday next? Is that going to be our day? Do you think?
If it works out for you, yeah, I think that works for me.
So yeah, if you haven't already, check out episode 1. It's really well received. It got a lot more notice than I expected, than both of us expected.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully, I don't know yet, but what do you think about having a guest on for episode 3?
I'd be more than happy to. Absolutely.
Into contacting a few people and see who wants to. You get a few scheduled for like each week. One scheduled each week.
Sure. Yeah, I'm more than happy to have someone else on too. So.
So we should be having a guest next week. I've got a few people in mind, so I'll contact them after and see what they want to do. Guys, thank you for watching. Follow me over at AR Games. My main focus is going to be reviews, but I've some goofy shit sometimes, like my Sekiro video today. Just some fun stuff, but with indies too. What about you?
On my side of things, I usually focus on just playing games and hanging out, kind of keeping a chill theme. So if you're into seeing someone either play really well or really poorly, mostly the latter, but playing games and having fun, interacting with community, and kind of revisiting some of the retro titles that have gone by the wayside, you're welcome to visit me over at the Retro Room channel, and that's the Retro Room. And that's pretty well what I do. I play games, I talk, I have fun, I take recommendations, and just kind of keep a chill motif. The objective is to just kind of, if you're stressed, come in, talk, leave the stress at the door, and enjoy yourself for a moment.
Good stuff. About it, guys. We'll see you next week. Thank you for watching. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks so much.